Hello, welcome, good morning, and howdy. It is Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. Welcome, I'm Graham Hughes, and this is the world. Well, a little bit of it, a little tiny bit of the world. Hello to Diz this morning. We've got Sarah Davis in the chat. We've got One Angry Pagan. We have got Martin Harrow and Leapshin and Simon. How you doing? Veg Pie is in there. Hi, Veg. How you doing? See, good to have you this morning. Liam Fairhurst is in there as well. So is Ernie Burns saying morning, light and peace. Oh, that's really nice. Francis Winrow is in the house as well. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. We've got a bit of a positive message today because, you know, I'm trying to kick back against all the doom and gloom. It's one of the reasons why I've changed the name of the channel and I'm trying to do more stuff. I'm working in the background on more travel things because, you know, I think we need some positivity. And I'm sort of scrolling through TikTok and watching YouTube videos. And the thing is, right, one of the things that I do really feel is that despite all the shit that's going on right now, the left hasn't lost a sense of humour, have they? I mean, there's so much funny shit out there, caused by the stupid shit that Trump and his associates do. But, I mean, it's a gold mine for comedy. And we have to keep laughing. Because there's one thing that the fash hate more than anything. More than they hate themselves, more than they hate trans people, more than they hate their own children. They hate being laughed at. And that's our greatest weapon. Just keep pointing and laughing, everyone. Just keep pointing and laughing. Jesus Christ, I'm sure they'll soon exhaust themselves. Hey, listen, if you want to join our friends in the chat here, all you need to do, our group of friends, our circle of friends, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and you can become a friend of the channel just by dint of subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. And it also means that you can actually get involved in the discussions this morning. People say good morning to each other. It's really nice. Everyone's waving to each other in the chat. It's all very, very, very homely and lovely. So that's very nice. So let's talk about the backlash to Trumpism, I guess we have to call it, don't we? So what's happened is over the last couple of years now. It's only been a year and 3 months. Jesus Christ, feels like an eternity. So since Trump got in, right, and started fucking around with everything, because he's a gobshite and that's what he does. We've seen senior figures like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio publicly back Viktor Orban, political interference in Europe. No, they're not afraid of that. Do you remember when Obama said that Brexit wouldn't be a good idea, and all the British newspapers, all the right-wing British fash newspapers, all the the fash gash that they force us to look at each day in the news agents, you know, they were all fucking going crazy about this. There were Tory MPs going, he shouldn't be involving himself in British politics, Obama, saying that Brexit's not going to be a good idea. He said that when we come to a trade agreement between the UK and America, right, the UK is going to be at the back of the queue. That wasn't a threat. That was just reality. And here we are, 10 years after the Brexit vote. Have we got a comprehensive trade deal with America? Have we fuck? Have we got one with China? Have we fuck? Therefore, have we got a trade deal with anyone else worth a pan of scouse? Have we fuck? But yeah, this what Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance did in the run-up to the non-election, the electoral defeat of Viktor Orban, what they did ahead of the Hungarian election this year, represented a break from decades of US foreign policy. Previous administrations avoided openly endorsing candidates in allied democracies. I'm choosing my words here quite carefully because you do know the CIA interfered in about 50 different countries' electoral processes over the years to get their person in. But yeah, this strategy has actually been formalized in the national security strategy that Trump's people released in 2025, framing Europe as declining we needed to be put into like special measures, like a school that failed its Ofsted inspection. They said we needed ideological correction. And those words just send a shiver down the spine of any, right-thinking human being who doesn't want to live under a tyranny. But Hungary's election directly contradicted US intervention. It led to the end of Orban's 16-year rule. Now, a big part of that was the corruption that people were sick and tired of, and the incompetence. Because when you get right-wingers like Farage, like Trump, like Orban, you get two things. You get corruption and you get incompetence. The corruption comes because these people only go into politics to make money. Now, when Orban was younger, he went into politics because he wanted to change things, because he wanted to actually break away from the Soviet Union and have their own country that wasn't, I mean, Hungary was always it was never part of the Soviet Union, but it was well and truly behind the Iron Curtain, and anything that happened politically in Hungary from the end of the war till 1990 was basically controlled by Moscow, right? Obviously, at the start of it, he was young and idealistic and wants to throw off the shackles of the Kremlin from controlling people's everyday lives. But then as he got older, he realized that he liked money. He wanted more money. Money's good. He likes money. And so he took money from the Russians to be a Russian agent, a Russian spoiler in Europe, in the EU, in fact. And he did very, very well out of it. He's a multi-billionaire now, Orban. He's probably going to fuck off to some island somewhere and live out his life, just sipping margaritas. I don't know. Maybe he'll go back into politics because he needs more money. Because people get addicted, Money's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. You got to get every dollar, or it doesn't count. Every single dollar. I need every dollar that exists. I need every pound that exists. I need every euro that exists. No one else, nothing for anyone else. But that was Orban. Then you look at someone like Trump, who has obviously gone into politics to feather his nest. He's got into politics to make loads of money. He realized in his first term of office that it wasn't. There were people in the way, standing in the way to stop him from making loads of money. So he made sure by the second time he got into office that there would be no checks and balances on his grift, on his absolutely gargantuan amount of money that he has made since becoming president. They figure it at something like $8 billion that motherfucker has made. He's only officially said that he's made $2 billion, which is several orders of magnitude more than every other president has made during their presidency since the founding of the Republic in 250 years. That's fucking insane. But yeah, he went into politics to make loads of money. And that's why Nigel Farage has got into politics. He was given £5 million by Chakrit Secundrit, a Thai businessman who deals in money laundering. He's a Russian. He likes to play Russian laundrette with the Muscovites, and he makes sure that Russia can get money out and in of its country using his cryptocurrency, which is made fuckloads of money out of. Because cryptocurrency, I mean, it's like it's a pyramid scheme for people who like to think of themselves as intelligent. But if you want to know if someone's intelligent, you say, "What do you think about this crypto thing?" And they say, "Oh, it's great." Step away. Don't leave that person in charge of your children, please. Don't. You'll come home and they'll, it's like Roger Irrelevant from the fucking Viz. They would have turned your house into a sporting venue or something and be inviting all these cyclists in and going, what are you doing? Terry Fuckwit, sorry, not Roger Irrelevant. Well, it would be a cross between Roger Irrelevant and Terry Fuckwit from the Beano. No, from the Viz. Anyway, so that's why Farage and Trump have gone in. But the other thing is, right, into politics. The other thing is they surround themselves with incompetence. Why do they do this? Well, because competent people will stop them from doing what they want to do and say, no, is it, like Sir Humphrey in Westminster, is that wise, sir? Is that wise? Could you imagine Hegseth or Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem or Kash Patel sitting there in a cabinet meeting with Donald Trump going, is that wise? No, of course not. They'll go like this. Anything Trump says. Oh, Trump said, I just shat myself into my big fucking adult-sized nappy. And you see Kash Patel sitting there going, So you don't want to be surrounded by competent people because they will stop you doing what you want to do. And also, if you're someone like Vladimir Putin, if you surround yourself with competent people, then you run the risk of them mounting a coup against you. Something that Vladimir Putin's very, very concerned about at the moment. Oh, did anyone hear that Mayor Giuliani, former Mayor Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani's been rushed to hospital? Oh dear, how sad, never mind. Rushed to hospital. Apparently he was in critical condition for a little bit, but he's stabilised now. Just saying, just saying that, if he does cark it, I'm gonna get a screen grab of what Trump said when Mueller died, Robert Mueller died, and I'm just going to change the word Mueller to Giuliani. That's what I'm going to do. Can't stop me. Gonna post it. It's going to say, I'm glad he's dead. And if anyone says, oh, that's an awful thing to say, I'm just literally using the words of your president, mate. Francis Winrow, thank you very much for the £2 super chat, the first super chat of the week. Woo! First! Yay! Fantastic! First. That's absolutely awesome. Thank you. Is that the guy who was in Borat 2? Yes, he was. Who tried to get on the bed with the young female. She wasn't a reporter. She was supposed to be Borat's daughter. Was it Borat's daughter? And she was like a teenager. And yeah. And he said he was adjusting his microphone. Because you often put your microphone down your pants. You don't put your microphone down your pants. I know that because I've often worn a lavalier mic, which is what they're called, and you can put them down your shirt, down your t-shirt. You don't put them down your pants. There's no reason to put them down your pants. You don't need to do that. You see, because if you put them down your pants, right? It's basically the cable, right? The mic doesn't need to. The mic's here, right? And usually you use wireless mics now, but if you've got a wired mic, right? It needs to go down. And then the wire needs to go to a pack on your backside, hanging on your belt, right? And that plugs in there. Now, if you put that cable into your pants, well, it's gonna go down into your pants and then back out again, or do you go all the way down to the bottom of your trouser leg and then? I don't know. Anyway, he's ill. Anyway, but thank you very much to Francis Winrow for the £2 super chat. That's very, very kind of you, my friend. He started pulling his little midget gem. Yeah, Borat's daughter. Yeah, happy Star Wars Day. Yes, may the Force be with you. And I think one of the newspapers, I think it's the might have been the Guardian today. They rank the Star Wars films. I think it's the Guardian. I'll have to have a look on my tomorrow's papers today page. Let's have a look. The Star Wars. No, Attenborough. Looking back on life on Earth, like it's 5 out of 5. It's the Independent. Was it the Eye? Was it the Eye newspaper? Culture. May the Fourth be with you. Okay. The best and worst. Okay. Let's have a look. Should we have a look at this? Best and worst Star Wars. I've seen every Star Wars. These are the I've seen every. Oh my god, I've seen every Star Wars. Like they've really tried to do it. We'll go through this. I think we'll go through this later in the show. But yeah, it's a bit of a shit list. It is a very shit list. I've seen every Star Wars. What, the 9 films or the spin-off films? You've got Solo. You've got the Rogue One film. Got Mandalorian and Grogu, and also the TV series is like Obi-Wan and Akora was it, and the Acolyte, which was shite, and Andor, which was fucking amazing, and Droids. There was a spin-off. There was a spin-off show of Ewoks. We are the Ewoks, and we dabby do. If anyone remembers that, you got the Caravan of Courage. You have the Ewok movies. There's 2 Ewok movies. Yeah, did you see them? Have you listed them? No. Have you seen the Star Wars Holiday Special? You were talking about the show last night. Have you? Fuck. In fact, I'm not going to show you this list because it's crap. It's just crap. It's just really crap. It's a crap list. It's only got 6 films in it. It goes, Mandalorian, New Hope, Rogue One, Andor, number 2, and Empire Strikes Back, number 1. That's in reverse order. And the worst is Rise of Skywalker, which was pretty shit, gotta say. Spaceballs was the best Star Wars. It was. Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan was the best Star Wars. I'm sci-bi. I like Star Trek and Star Wars. So am I. I'm sci-bi. I'm proud member of the sci-bi community. I do like Star Trek and I do like Star Wars. Although, as I said the other day when we were doing the rabbit hole with Rach, I did say, but gun to my head, I'll take Star Wars. It's just more fun. Anyway, so I was talking about Trump and his fucking lackeys and what the results of them trying to interfere in Hungary's elections, because I think this is really important to look at. They helped end Orban's 16-year tyrannical rule of Hungary. They allowed the teaser party, not just the opposition party, the opposition party, not just to win in the election, but to win a super majority, which is fucking insane, right? And high voter turnout suggests mobilization against the perceived foreign interference. And this goes back to a few different things. Like, you think of your like family dynamic. There might be people in your family that you don't get on with, or that you've had an argument with, or whatever. But when someone else starts slagging them off, you start getting defensive, don't you? Everyone does this, even if they're probably right about it. But you're just like, no, that's that's my job, or like, you feel like someone from the outside, and it's like trying to explain to a racist why they can't use the N-word, and they say, oh, but black people use the N-word. And yes, because it's fine for me to make fun of my brothers or make fun of whoever in my family. But if someone else comes along and starts saying exactly the same thing that I've said, I'll tell them to fuck off. Nothing to do with them. It's not their family. It's not their thing. So yeah, people do not like it when people come from somewhere else and tell them what to do. In fact, I kind of wish that Obama hadn't said anything about Brexit. Of course, he was right about Britain going to the back of the queue for a trade deal with America. Because obviously Europe would be there first, the EU would be there first, because they're a massive economy worth $24 trillion altogether, whereas the UK is worth about $3 trillion. It would be $3 trillion. It's like a fraction of it. So if you open a shop, right, and you see someone and they literally have bagfuls of gold, right, and they're waiting to come in, and you can only let one person in at a time, and the person behind them has got one gold sovereign, right, which may be cursed. Who are you going to let in first? It's going to take ages to sort out something that they need. It's going to take you a year. It's going to take you 2 years. It's going to take you 5 years to negotiate whatever it is. You're going to waste 5 years talking to the guy with the one sovereign. Are you fucking not? You're going to talk to Mr. Moneybags there, sitting there with all the fucking bags full of money. Hopefully there is money in those bags and not rats. But yeah, but there was that backlash. There was that, don't get involved in our politics. I don't want you involved in our politics. Which is really weird, because now, when Trump says something about Starmer, all these right wingers in this country all jizz in their pants, don't they? They're like, oh, fucking yeah, he's having a go at Starmer. Oh, that's great, that. And you're like, really? Okay, so you're all right with a foreign dictator or horrible man, Tim Pot fucking Taco Man, doing, interfering in our politics. So that's all right, so long as it's politics that you agree with. But yeah, the incoming Prime Minister of Hungary, as said, we're definitely going to have more closer alignment with the EU. We're going to stop being a spoiler. The loan, the 90 billion euros to Hungary has now gone through. It's now because they stopped blocking it. And they've gone for, cooperation with their fellow nations of Europe rather than MAGA-style nationalism. And the relationship between Europe and America has never been this low in my lifetime. It's probably since the end of Second World War. Probably I don't think ever it's been this bad. it's been this bad. But, don't forget the Yanks, they did come along a bit late in 1917, but they did fight in World War One, which, wasn't their war, to be fair. I know Canada was involved and other Commonwealth nations, but America itself, it didn't need to get involved, but it did. Obviously, they were late coming into World War II, and that was triggered by Pearl Harbor. But even before then, they were still helping us out. They were still supplying us with food and with munitions and shit. I mean, you'd had to go via Canada to get around the dickheads in the Congress who didn't want to help us at all, because there's always going to be dickheads in Congress, isn't there? We got stuff from them, I guess. But now, I mean, I don't expect to get anything off the fucking Yanks except them taking money, sucking money out of our economy with their McDonald's and their Starbuckses and their fucking evil magic rings. Umka, thank you very much for the €5. I love getting euros on this show. Hooray for the euro. I'm a hard rejoiner. I want euros. I want Schengen. I want everyone speaking German. Thank you very much to Umka there for good morning and down with US imperialism. Well, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the end of it. This is the end game, as I've been talking about. It's about this the last week, sort of thing. Various issues that we're seeing. Various facets of the relationship between Europe and America and the world, to be honest with you. But, Trump's now threatening to withdraw these troops from Germany, the expulsion of Spain from NATO, something America can't do on its own. It needs unanimous consent from the other members of NATO to let a member join or to kick a member out. European leaders are openly criticizing US policy on Iran and global security, and the trust in US leadership has declined massively because of Trump and the fact that he's surrounded himself by sycophants and idiots. Incompetent idiots. It's the incompetence that'll get them in the end. All of them. It's the incompetence that got the Nazis. If the Nazis had been competent, D-Day wouldn't have worked. It would have just been a bloodbath. But thankfully, the Nazis were incompetent. Because a lot of them, dickheads, a lot of them just went into politics to make loads of money. They didn't give a fuck about the Aryan nation. It was just something they said in order to get votes from morons who were like, yeah, am I an Aryan? No, you're not, mate. No, you're not. You don't have blonde eyes and blue hair. I'm sorry. You're fucked, mate. You're just some squat, middle-aged, balding twat man. But, you vote for the Aryans. Yeah, go on. Vote for the Aryan race. Like, that is actually a thing. Those mongrels, those people who are 1% Neanderthal. Not like our brothers and sisters from the great continent of Africa. They're the genuine, pure Homo sapiens. If you're watching this and you're white or you're a bit white, you've got Neanderthal DNA in you. You've got another species of human in you. You disgusting thing. Ugh, you make me feel sick. Oh, hang on, I'm one of them. Oh, I make myself feel sick. Imagine mating with another species. People get mad when people they get married to someone who's not the same religion as them. In Northern Ireland, they still call it a mixed marriage. It's a mixed marriage. Oh, because a Catholic married a Protestant. Oh, it's a mixed marriage. And then people around the world say, oh, we shouldn't have white people marrying black people. Oh, it's wrong, I tell you. I'm like, yeah, that white person's ancestors totally fucked a Neanderthal. Yeah. Homo neanderthalis. Yeah, they got it on. You know those guys with the massive heads? Look like Herman Monster from the Monsters? Yeah. Them. Anyway, Veg Pie, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Very kind of you. And also, Umka, thank you very much, Umka, for the €5. My friend had a business trip to the US. He had small chats with random USans and got the impression the majority is still pro-Trump. US is cooked. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I mean, we keep on getting these fucking videos. And I don't want to diss people on the left making videos because I don't think that's very helpful. And, if people are making videos and they're earnest about it and they're making left-wing videos, they're not going to be on a grift because it's really hard to make money out of making left-wing content, let me tell you. But, I hate when they go, oh, Trump's cooked. Oh, he's cooked. He's cooked. And you're like, why is he cooked? And he's like, well, because his opinion polls have gone down to 39%. What, from 40%? Yeah. It's the lowest it's ever been. It's like 1% less Oh, yeah, fucking hell. They're calling for his fucking head on a plate. Come on. No, the people who love Trump, you got to understand they love Trump in the same way that people love Brexit in this country. And they'll never, ever shift their position on Brexit. They absolutely love Brexit. They love Brexit more than they love the NHS or their own children. Or, having a decent country where we've got money to spend on services and shit. Maybe here's the thing, right? When they were talking about HS2 and its costs ballooning to over 100 billion, if we had stayed in the EU, we'd have an extra fucking 100 billion to what we have now every year for the last 10 years going to the exchequer. See, we could have had 10 HS2s all the way from London to fucking Newcastle via Liverpool. But no, sorry, it's too much, too expensive. The main downfall of HS2, and I don't want to get into a massive HS2 conversation, unless someone wants to give me a massive super chat to talk about HS2, but its biggest downfall was starting in the south. That was it. The two big problems, I think. One was that it was going to be all one big project. I think it should have been done piecemeal. I think it should have been like, here's HS2, and that's going to take us from Huddersfield to Leeds. And then it's HS3 is going to take us from Leeds to Sheffield. And then HS4 reopened the Woodhead tunnels and took us from Sheffield to Manchester. And then, do you know what I mean? Just done it in segments like they did in London. The Crossrail project, it was Crossrail. It was just the one rail. It wasn't like they were also doing other bits to it at the same time. It was just, the extension of the Northern Line, which is now more the Southern Line, the extension of the Northern Line to Battersea Power Station. That was a big separate thing. It was a separate thing. But yeah, the two things were trying to do it all at once and starting it in the south. Should have started it in the north, because we would have fucking welcomed it up here. We'd be like, fuck yes! Knock down that Aldi and put a fucking train station there where it should be, so we can get about for, in a nice way. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. My sister lived in Denver for a few years. She is surprised there wasn't more opposition to World War I, given the number of German surnames she came across. Yeah, that's a really good point. But yeah. Townsend V. I used to live near US Air Force bases. I hated the locals licking the American arses. You couldn't even. I think you're saying that you couldn't even criticize the culture. Yeah, I think we should criticize the culture of America, because it's just a bit shit, isn't it? There is more genetic diversification in Homo sapiens today in sub-Saharan Africa than the rest of the world, says one angry pagan, which is fantastic. I mean, exactly. And this is why, if you want to split the world into white people and black people, which is increasingly difficult because it's a nonsense, but you got to look at the fact that the Olympic events that white people are good at are the ones that require equipment, or sitting down in equipment, whether it's rowing or cycling or playing tennis. I mean, that's not even playing tennis. You can't even say that anymore. Playing golf, I can't even say that anymore. But it generally requires expensive equipment, because that prices people out from Africa. In events that Africans are just free to fucking go hell for leather in, they're generally pretty fucking good. That's why they had to have the Winter Olympics. They had to invent the Winter Olympics because the white people weren't winning enough medals. I love the Winter Olympics. It's so fucking racist. Anyway, you don't have enough money? You don't have enough money for a bobsled? Well, you can't compete then, can you? You don't have any snow? Well, you can't practice then, can you, for the rest of the year? You don't have any snow in the middle of summer? Look at you. It's a modern day contractors, that's the problem, 100%, because how come the first stretch of motorway back in the day was done on time and on budget, but nowadays not a fucking prayer? Well, the first stretch of motorway, the M6 at Preston, was done by possibly involving the construction company of, actually no, it was the Hammersmith flyover that they did, but the transport minister at the time. Oh no, that was before Ernest Marples, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry, that was the 50s. It was the 50s that that stretch of the M6 opened, wasn't it? It's the only thing that Preston has got going for it. It's got a motorway that allows you to bypass it very quickly. And it's got the oldest KFC. The first KFC in the country was Preston. It's got a very, very depressing bus station as well. That fans of brutalist architecture love to fucking, hurl themselves at in adoration and love and respect, because the tiles, the vertical tiles, the shit vertical tiles that makes public buildings look like a gentleman's lavatory in the 50s, 60s and 70s that they built. It's got them, and the length of the wall is exactly proportionate to the size of the tiles and the grouting between the tiles, and that means that there's no half tiles at the end of a wall. Yeah, when I say fans of brutalist modern architecture loves to throw themselves at the Preston bus station, a lot of people like to throw themselves off Preston bus station. Unfortunately, for some, it was the most used place for a lot of suicides. So they had to build a big fucking fence around the top to stop people hurling themselves off the damn thing. So yeah, they built a wonderful, beautiful building that was so beautiful. People went, that's the place I want to go and do myself in. Anyway, I haven't got any nice things to say about Preston, so I think I'll shut up now. A friend of mine is Welsh and can't roll their R's. Does that class as a speech impediment if you're Welsh? Yeah, maybe, but not everyone can roll their R's. It's just something that some humans can do and some humans can't do. Can't do. Anyway, back to Trump. Sorry, so talk about fucking relationships with Trump and the rest of the world. Well, particularly, in Europe, but also global security. And you got the Iran war, which has accelerated global instability. We've got disruption to trade routes, especially around the Strait of Hormuz. We've got the oil shock that triggers economic anxiety. I mean, this is hopefully the last oil shock that we'll have. This is it. This is the last oil crisis. This is the last energy crisis that we're going to have. We're not going to have one again, because we're just going to put so much money into renewables that it's not going to affect us so much when this happens. This is actually happening now. This is happening right now as we're talking. The fact that the oil cost hasn't gone to over $200 a barrel yet. It might do in the future, but it hasn't done it yet. It's because a lot of countries are cutting down massively on oil, and they have alternatives. And that alternative doesn't have to be coal like it used to be. The alternative can be solar panels and wind turbines. And they are investing massively. I was chatting to a friend at the weekend, and she was saying, "Oh, yeah, but won't they roll back? Like, they'll commit to stuff and then roll back." And I was thinking, well, actually, I don't think they will, because in the past, the reason for going green was always, it was always fields, wasn't it? It was always woolly hugs and kisses, kind of like, we want a better future for our children. It was always quite. I think it felt quite nebulous in the minds of the politicians that were putting this through. It was a nice to have. It wasn't a complete necessity. Now it's a necessity. That's the big difference. It's a necessity for these countries to be getting as much solar power panels as possible, and that goes from anywhere. It goes from Grenada in the Caribbean all the way to China. They are investing massively in solar panels. They are buying solar panels like nobody's business, because they work. They're efficient. They produce enough energy that you need to just do your daily life. Did I miss the confetti? Said no, my friend. I missed the confetti, and for that I apologise. And for that I will launch the confetti now. 3, 2, 1, confetti! Very exciting stuff. There we go. We had the confetti. I hope Diz is happy now. All good. Right, let's get rid of that. Let's set another goal then. This is exciting, isn't it? It started the week well. Started the new week of the new month. On Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Preston and Lancashire has its place in Mormon history, providing many converts. Oh, that's interesting. I know when you're driving along, I don't know if it's the M6. I think it might be one of the motorways that goes to Manchester off the M6, not the M62. Up near Chorley, I'm thinking there's like a white church on a hill, and it's a Mormon church. It's a Mormon church. It's in a person's coffee. M62 is a beautiful road. It's only very light traffic. Lost me. I love it. Thanks. A beautiful road. Yeah, I think that's an oxymoron, isn't it? Maybe a cobbled street. Maybe a cobbled street in the London fog. Half the first cross-country railway was a different gauge to the other half. They relied on the entire stretch in a few days. They relayed the entire stretch in a few days. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, the Great Western Railway, or God's Wonderful Railway, as envisioned by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, had a fucking huge gauge, didn't it? He called it like the Titan gauge or something. It was fucking like twice the gauge of a normal train rails. And what they did, I think, is they put the new rails either in the middle, or what they did was they put a third rail in the middle at the standard gauge, right? And then so trains that were built for the big gauge could still run along. So you had three rails, and if you want, but it got a bit complicated, I think, when you got to like points and changing tracks and stuff like that. But for stretches of it, yeah, they did do it quite quick. They did it quite quickly, but the sleepers were already down. So that helped, and the bridges were already built, and the and the tunnel. One of the things with HS2 as well, because they started building it in the south, it was full of fucking NIMBYs. That's why I'm saying it was bad to build in the south. It was full of twats, NIMBYs, Brexit voters, refuckers, and they're all going, "I want to see a train. I want to see a train. I want to see a train." It's like, what the fuck? What's the fucking problem? You can't put your tunnel. I don't want to see a train. Fucking just put a hill, just put a fucking embankment on either side. That'll, And it's not like high speed trains make a lot of noise. They're not that noisy. People, it makes so much fucking noise. Compare with a fucking motorway. Fuck off. I can hear from my mum's place in West Derby. I can hear the M62. We're a couple of miles away. Still hear it. Nice. You can hear the cars on the road. I remember my dad only just died, and the vultures were knocking at the door trying to get their hooks into my mum at their religious conversions. I'm glad I was there to tell them to do one. Yeah, Sheffield Speed. They like to go after people who are feeling a little bit ostracized and lonely and bereaved and upset, and they take you if you're going through an emotional turmoil, they'll try and sell their wares to you, and that's what they're doing. They're selling their wares. They're trying to get you to join their club so you can pay the fucking subscription fees when the plate goes round. I'm not doing it to try and save your soul from hell. I mean, they might pretend that they're doing that. They might convince themselves that they're doing that. But the reality is, it's still not like they're Mormons or even worse, Jehovah's Witnesses. They're working for a big American fucking company that makes shitloads of money. How does Jehovah's Witnesses make money? They print fucking. It was set up by a bookseller, a guy who made books. Not like a gambling book, not like a bookmaker, but like he was a guy who decided he wanted to make loads of money giving books to people to give out for free to people around the community, and then they'll come back and ask for more books because they were giving them away. And those people buy a book and then it sits on the bookshelf. Maybe they might read it, or they might just leave it on the bookshelf to make them look intelligent. Something I do all the time. Yeah, bit mercenary. Fun fact, in my younger days, I walked the A30 from Exeter to Torbay and vice versa several times. That's quite cool. They used to read the obituaries, and decide where to go. No, they'll do research on people. They will do. If you whatever you say to Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons on the doorstep, they record it and they write it down. And if there's anything that they can sink their claws into, they'll send someone around a week later and say, they do that, They do that, There you go. Brunel's gauge was 7 foot 4.5 inches. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Miss Paula Thomas. Fucking hell, that is a mad gauge, isn't it? But apparently the train ride was a lot smoother. But it just took up too much space, apparently. Mormons and witnesses are loaded. They don't need the pittance they collect in those little plates. Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. So we're talking about the Iran war and the oil shock, the last of the oil shocks, and then you've got this quite correct view that US foreign policy, or just US policy in general, is transactional, unpredictable, and it's driven domestically. America first means everywhere else last, rather than alliance-based. Trump can't understand the idea of having an alliance because he's never had friends. He doesn't understand the importance of having friends. He's always been a selfish little shit. He's always been a horrible, horrible human being that goes around raping women, ogling underage girls getting changed in his beauty pageant and his sick beauty pageants, in which he bragged about going to the changing room so he could look at the genitals of underage girls. That's something he literally fucking bragged about that doesn't get mentioned enough, I don't feel. Every time Trump gets me, oh, the paedophile. You mean the paedophile president, the pedo president? You mean that guy? But yeah, he doesn't understand love. He doesn't understand friendship. He doesn't understand caring about anyone else but himself. The man is a sociopath. The man is an out and out sociopath. He's a fucking evil piece of shit human being. He's fat Hitler. And in some ways, he's worse than Hitler because the population of the world's bigger now. He can cause actually more trouble than fucking Hitler can. But yeah, there's been a massive backlash against Trump's presidency. And this means that Europe has been moving towards strategic autonomy. They've increased their defending spending commitments, as I was talking about on Saturday. Germany's been expanding its armed forces for years after, so is Japan actually. So for years after the Second World War, one of the reasons why Japan and Germany did so well at the economic miracle that was Germany and Japan after the war was they didn't have to spend a huge chunk of the money that was taken in by their chancellor in Germany is a slightly different position, but the person in charge of the money, the taxation that's collected in Germany and Japan didn't have to spend that much money on the military because they weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to have a military that was big enough to just hang on a sec. They didn't have a military. Hang on. Okay. I've got handwritten letters from local JWs during lockdown. Yeah. Feeling lonely? Come join us. The only thing I've ever said to them is no, and they've slammed the door. Although no is a full sentence, I'm sure they can remember that. They are welcome to record. Witnesses, Mormons, and the rest stopped doorstepping me a while back. It was answered the door in. Was it that I answered the door in a Slayer t-shirt? Well, I mean, they decide that you're a repressive person. Is that what they say in in Scientology? You become a repressive person or a suppressive person. So they call it. There's a special name for it. They'll probably leave you alone. I think it was Dave Allen who made the gag about Gideon's Bible. Which gag is that? It's Gideon's. Give it back. Well, sorry. A comedian once said there is a bloke called Gideon who in every hotel I stay in, he always leaves a book for me to read. When I was younger, so much younger than today, I don't know if they do that with Bibles in hotel rooms anymore. I don't really stay in hotels very much. If I'm traveling, it's usually backpackers or guest houses or something like that. But I'm sorry, there's sounds like drilling going on in the other room. The USA is so overdone and handwritten letters from what's that? Oh, sorry, the US is so overdone. Europe needs to move on without them. Yeah, they do. So anyway, leap shin eye. Suppressive, that's it. So you're a suppressive person. I like to think I'm an impressive person, but they call me suppressive. But there you go. We've got the feeling towards America, right, has led to this sort of, I don't know, cause and effect, I guess, where countries around the world, not just in Europe, but around the world, are thinking more of a world without America, a world where America doesn't matter anymore, a world where America is no longer significant. It's no longer something that we need to think about when formulating our trade policies or our defense policies. We no longer have to have them in the room because it doesn't sound like they want to be in the room. So fair enough. Go on. Off you go. And like with renewables, it's like in the past, people might have said, oh, I don't like America. America's a bit of a pain in the arse. But there's nothing really we could do about it because we didn't have the support from other countries in the same way with the oil crisis right now. in the past we didn't have the options of cheap solar, cheap wind turbines, cheap renewables. We didn't. They simply weren't an option. EV cars were not an option 25 years ago because the car companies did not want them to be an option, so they weren't. And then you've got the discussion about a European Defence Union, the EDU, alongside NATO, which may end up replacing NATO. I don't think that it should just be Europe. I think that we need NATO Plus, which has Japan and South Korea, maybe Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, and maybe South Africa, maybe some other countries that want to join in it. Maybe Mexico. That'd be fucking great. Let's get Mexico on board. Let's get Latin America. Let's get countries from Africa on board so they can talk about their defense. Talk about, shoring themselves up against interference by the Chinese regime in their countries, if they want, More than all, no Bibles in the UK. It's considered inappropriate. Likewise, hospitals, we have to give them out if wanted, along with Qurans, Baghdad, Gitas, etc. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to have to sort out this sound because I'm getting a load of buzzing in my ear. So I'm just going to run the intro sequence. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm just going to shut the door. The kids are making smoothies in the kitchen and it's making a hell of a racket. But should be okay now. Should be okay. South Africa are allies with Russia. They did joint exercises last year. Yeah, well, that's why you want to get them on board, don't you? Because you want them inside the tent pissing out rather than outside the tent pissing in. Because South Africa's in the Southern Hemisphere, so they're in the South Atlantic. So they're going to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and they're not going to join the European Defence Union. So yeah, I'll call it not NATO Plus. Just call it something else. Just call it the Worldwide Defence Fund or something. A world without America is possible, but we cannot just turn our back on them. It must be important, just not as much now. We need an international trade routes protection scheme, to be honest. Gideon's Bible was mentioned in the Beatles song Rocky Raccoon quite irreverently. I'm old enough to remember when the TV show Gideon's Way was first shown. Wow. Was that like Howard's Way? So when I was younger, I was telling you about when I used to go into hotels, right? So I went and stayed in hotels, usually with like maybe parents or something, because I don't stay in hotels very often. I usually stay in guest houses or B&Bs, whatever, backpackers. And I used to travel with a highlighter pen, and I'd always get the Bible out, the Gideon's Bible, and I'd go for the first 5 books of the Bible, which are Deuteronomy, Numbers, Leviticus, Exodus, and Genesis, not in that order. And I'd go through highlighting the fucked up bits in there, the really, really fucked up bits. The bit about if a woman's husband is being assaulted and she reaches out to grab the assaulter by his genitals, she must cut off her hand, show her no pity. There was a bit about if you get raped and by a man and the woman is not married, then the rapist has to pay her father 50 shekels, which is about £5, and he has to marry her. Or to put it another way, she has to marry the man who has raped her. There's the bit about the eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a nail for a nail, an arm for an arm, a leg for a leg. It goes on a bit, that bit. And then it gets to the bottom and says, unless they're your slave, then you can do what you like. They're your slave. Just try not to kill them. The maddest thing when the Christians try and... I don't think the Christians should have included the Old Testament. I really don't. There's nothing in the Old Testament for Christians, because if they're going to believe in a God of love, then the God of the Old Testament makes no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. Because he's just a gobshite. There's a bit in the old Bible, in the Old Testament, where it was when the tribe were running around massacring people. I think it was after Exodus. They got out of Egypt, and they just went around massacring these different groups, these different places. And there were places where God said, "You got to kill everything that breathes." So they killed all the men, the women, the children, the babies, the animals, everything that breathed had to be destroyed. There was another place they went, and he said, "Kill everyone except for the maidens," which meant the virgins, which meant the female virgins, right? So that meant kids. That meant the female children, right? God came down and went, "Oh, that's great. How many of them are there?" And they said something like, "Oh, there's 10,000. We've got 10,000 of these little girls who haven't had sex yet." And he's like, "Oh, great. I'll take half of them, and you can have the other half." And they went, "Okay, cheers, God." And he walks off with 5,000 little girls. Yep, the God of the Old Testament, everyone. Massive fucking pedo. Then again, I suppose if you're going to say that he got a 14-year-old pregnant in the New Testament, and if he's supposed to be thousands and thousands of years old, yeah, there's a bit of an age gap there. Yeah, it's a bit disconcerting. So maybe it is the same God. I don't know. But I used to like going through the Gideon's Bible and highlighting the fucked up verses, the very, very fucked up verses from those first 5 books of the Bible, because they're particularly fucked up. There's a bit where Samson, fucking world's first suicide bomber, gets upset because his wife told everyone what the answer to his riddle was. So he goes and kills a bunch of people and steals their coats so he can hand out the coats to people, because he said "I'll give you all a coat if you solve me riddle." And he went, "All right," and he solved his riddle because Delilah told him what the answer was. So he went and murdered a bunch of people, like innocent people, and took their coats, blood-soaked coats off them, and then handed them over, covered in blood, and went, "Here you go, here's your coat." What a twat. What an absolute twat. And he famously brought down the temple with everyone inside it to kill himself and everyone in the temple. Yeah, the world's first suicide bomber, Samson from the Bible. But it gets worse. There's a passage there that is so beyond fucked up, where the Sodom and Gomorrah. You've heard of Sodom and Gomorrah, haven't you? And then Lot's wife, she turned around and turned into a pillar of salt. She's a bit like old Orpheus and Eurydice in the underworld. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And she's not supposed to turn around before she gets out the underworld, is she? And then she turns around and oh no, he's not supposed to turn around and look at her. But in the Bible story, it's Lot's wife turns around to look back at the destruction, sends to a pillar of salt. So Lot is left up in the mountains in a cave somewhere with his 2 daughters, right? And they're the only surviving people left of their cities that have been destroyed, right? And they're like, "Oh, what are we going to do for having children?" Like, I don't know. We need to have children immediately. We couldn't possibly walk somewhere else, because these are the only 2 cities on Earth, I assume. So we're going to have to get our father drunk and rape him so he can father our children. So that happens in the Old Testament. Do you know how you get someone who's religious to become an atheist? Get them to read the fucking Bible. Go on, sit down, read the fucking thing. Go on. Off you chop. I'll see you in a couple of months. Oh my God! This is horrible. Yes, it is horrible. Dave Allen got complaints about the clock joke where he swore when he said, "When you retire, what do they give you? A fucking clock?" Yeah. Give you a fucking clock. It wasn't political. It was political, wasn't it? Including the Old Testament. Compiling the Bible was about uniting the Roman Empire, and that included the area that is now Israel, and therefore the Jewish Bible. Yeah, maybe. No, there is no new Quran. That has been removed. The hateful passages brought up by Mr. Rushdie, like the Bible did. Maybe Islam needs to look inward and notice the hate they can preach. Well, I mean, the Bible is used all the time to preach hatred and anger and genocide. I mean, don't forget the Waffen SS in Germany in the 1940s had on their belt buckles "Gott mit uns," as in God with us. And they captured the Catholic Church in Germany, absolutely. And don't forget who it was who helped a lot of Germans, Nazis, escape. Lots of commandants of concentration camps escape. The Vatican. The Vatican helped them escape to Argentina and Brazil. So yeah, I think it's a bit unfair to look at one particular religion and go, this is very violent. Because people have a distorted view of religion. They think that, oh yeah, those Eastern religions, they're all peace and fucking love. Are you kidding me? Have you read about Kali in the Hindu mythology and in the Hindu religions? She's a fucking nutter. And what about Buddha? Oh yeah, Buddha, he's a really chill guy, isn't he? He's fucking chill. Well, let's have a look how chill the Buddhists are when the Chinese Buddhists are invading Tibet and killing their fellow Buddhists because they're the wrong flavour of Buddhism. What about the Buddhists in Sri Lanka who wiped out the Tamil Tigers who were Hindus? Absolutely. Only about 15 years ago, they fucking destroyed every village that had Tamils in order to destroy the Tamil Tigers. That wasn't very peace and loving, was it? What about the Rohingya Muslims living in Burma, now Myanmar, who were basically shoved out of their own country by, who was it? Oh yeah, Buddhists. What was the religion of the Khmer Rouge? What was that? Oh yeah, Buddhism. Okay, cool. The killing fields, right? Okay, peace and love, my friends. Peace and love. Now, there's only one religion in the world that is truly peace and love, which is Jainism, which I wouldn't recommend because it's the one where you can't. It's not just about not eating animals, right? It's not harming or insulting any living thing. So it's a very nice way to live if you can work out a way of living without getting invaded by your neighbors and beaten up and stuff. You do need defense, I guess, at the end of the day. But those are the people who sweep the floor in front of them as they walk because they don't want to step on any bugs. I would say that was probably the most peaceful religion in the world. All the rest, you can find a passage of any holy book from any religion that gives you justification to kill every motherfucker that is in your way. Okay, so you look at the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Well, it doesn't say murder. And then later on in the same book, it says it's fine to kill if they're your slave or if they've done something naughty. You've got to put them to death. So you got this book. It says thou shalt not kill, and then later on in the same book, it says, oh yeah, we killed all these motherfuckers. God sent a bear to come and kill a bunch of children for laughing at a guy for having no hair. That happened. He sent a bear to kill a bunch of children. Like 40 children were killed, ripped apart by this fucking bear that God sent because some kids laughed at a guy who was bald. What a wholesome story. What a lovely story. Umka, thank you very much. Nazis put it on the belt. USANs put it on their money. Yeah, in God we trust. I loved it when we had Darwin on our £10 notes. We had Darwin. They had In God We Trust. I trusted more. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. US comedian Julia Sweeney does a great skit on losing religion. It starts with reading the Bible cover to cover, title Letting Go of God. Yeah, there's so much stuff in the Bible. Take this from a former choir boy. There's so much stuff in there that is so fucked up. It's fucking hilarious. And they're never the readings. They're never the readings in assembly or in church. It's always, the story about Jesus turning water into wine, or, the story of Jesus rising from the dead, or the story of Jesus healing a guy who's been dead for 4 fucking days. Or that bit where he, doesn't he do something to a tree? Didn't Jesus do something to a fucking tree? Like he whipped a tree? That doesn't get mentioned very much. What about the bit where he put, there was someone who had a demonic possession, and he put the demons into a flock of pigs, or a group of pigs, whatever you call it, a collective noun for pigs, and then drove them off a cliff? That happened. How'd you bring someone back from the dead after 4 fucking days? They would have been necrosis. They would have been fucking... They couldn't have been properly dead, because otherwise it's a miracle. Okay. Maybe they just thought that they were dead and they weren't actually dead. Did you ever think about that? They seem to be dead. That does happen. That does happen. It still happens to this very day. There was a story a few years ago, I think in Mexico or somewhere, where a woman woke up in a coffin. I think she was in her own funeral, started banging on the fucking... One of the reasons why they had the wake in cultures in Ireland was to make sure they were fucking dead. Waking the dead. The idea is if you weren't really dead, you'd wake up because of all the raucous partying that was going on around your dead body. God, humans are weird. Anyway, thank you very much for the super chats there, Umka, and to Miss Paula Thomas. In God We Trust. Oh, I've got 5 books. I can pretty much handle it from here. Yeah. In God We Trust, everyone else pays cash. Reverend Kathy, all of which demonstrates why you shouldn't take any religious text literally. So much contradicts itself. Everyone picks the bits they like. Only some of us admit it. Yeah. Yeah. But I think that the thing with religion is it can be very useful to give people meaning in life. And also, if people pick the nice bits, then there's a lot of nice stuff in there. Jesus did say look, love your neighbor. He did say, do unto others as you would like to be done to, which was also said by Buddha and also said by Confucius. But, who's counting? People said it earlier. I think it was actually mentioned in the fucking Hindu text from 20,000 years earlier. But, whatever. I'm sure Jesus was the first person to come up with the golden rule. Before then, it was a silver rule. Then it became a golden rule. Do not do unto others, unto another person, that which you find hateful yourself. Something like that. I think that's what Confucius said. Master Kong. Doug Stanhope. Couldn't remember his name. He reads some books a lot on stage. I like Doug Stanhope. Comes on stage and says, "I'm Doug Stanhope, and that's why I drink." Does anyone remember the references in Red Dwarf to Lister being God? Yeah, well, I mean, he was the Coloster the Stupid, wasn't it? He was the god of the cat people. And my favorite bit of the Bible is when God appeared from behind Sainsbury's cheese counter. So saith the Old Testament, according to Spike Milligan. Coloster the Stupid. Yes, there you go. I met a woman at work who was so horribly Christian when she wished a colleague going on a honeymoon that she hopes her plane crashed. Fucking hell. Sheffield Steve. A woman. So a colleague was going on a honeymoon, and she said, "I hope your plane crashes." What the fuck is wrong with people? But yeah. The real issue that we have with religion is it gives people an excuse to be horrible, and it's why I think that we need to bring in dog licenses and religion licenses, because 2 reasons. Right? So people who want to treat an animal badly will get a dog. And this isn't to say that people who love dogs are bad owners, because most of them are absolutely brilliant owners of dogs, and dogs are absolutely brilliant animals. But there are people out there who want to abuse an animal, who want to hurt an animal. And the thing is, if you do that with a cat, or you do that with a ferret, or even you do that with a rat, they'll fuck off. They'll be like, "I'm fucking out of here." If you do that with a goldfish, they'll fucking die. So the animal that you can abuse and kind of get away with it is a dog, because a dog is incredibly loyal. And so I really think we need dog licenses, not for the dogs, for the owners, for the humans, right? I feel the same way about religion. I think you should need to apply for a religion license. And if you're going to use your religion to further your bigotry or cement your bigotry into being horrible, then fuck off. You're not allowed. Now, I genuinely think that Jesus was probably a nice guy. Muhammad was probably a top bloke. I never met him. But, Buddha, Confucius, probably lovely people. Lovely people, had the right idea, about being nice to people or whatever, And I've got no problem with them. I've got a problem with people who use what those people said, what those people wrote, or what people wrote about them. And they take that and they say, "I'm going to use this to be fucking horrible." That's what I've got a problem with. So yeah, you need a license to be religious, I think. And they do a test and say, "Are you going to use this religion to be horrible? Are you going to use it to be bigoted and hateful?" And then they go, "Yeah, I love the bit in the Bible where it says that you've got to rip someone's teeth out if they look at you funny." And you say, "Okay, well, you can't have a religion then. That's it. Sorry, you've got to stay an atheist. Don't need a license for that one." But I will say, some people, and I'm not being patronising when I say this, some people need religion. Oops, sorry, dropped a penny there. Spend a penny, drop a penny. It was actually a penny. My wages for the week. I genuinely think that there are people out there who are very good and use religion to be good, but there are people out there who use religion to be bad. and they use it as a crutch, as a thing to say, I need to be bad because of this. But there are people out there who need religion. They need something to believe in. And if it's not the God of the New Testament or the Old Testament even, or whatever, they'll turn to something else, and it will become a religion to them. It becomes something that gives them a kind of spiritual fulfillment. And it might be gambling. It might be Star Wars. It might be Pokemon. It might be, it could be a bunch of things. It's one of your friends gets absolutely obsessed with something to the point where it like occupies their every waking living moment. And unfortunately, it's kind of harmless when it's something like Pokemon or whatever, right? But where it's not harmless is when it falls into addiction, because don't forget, love, faith, addiction, very similar chemical fucking goings on in your brain. But when it's a person, and that person is fucking toxic, that is a huge problem. That is a huge, huge problem. And even if you don't think that person, that person's in love with, I had someone come and stay on my island who was absolutely in love with Russell Brand, who thought that Russell Brand could not do anything wrong. He was the greatest man who ever lived. And I've heard that greatest man who ever lived about some other political figures. Well, not that Russell Brand's a political figure. And I've been sitting there going, no. But you look at the cult around Trump, and it is a cult. You look at the cult around Nigel Farage, and it is a cult. It's very concerning. The cult around Brexit. Like I keep making it. It's not even a joke when I say they love Brexit more than they love their own children or grandchildren. They do. Because if they wanted this country to be rich and prosperous and do well and be respected around the world, they would have never voted for Brexit. They voted for Brexit because they were told by the rich, posh people that it would make them individually richer. So there was a greed element to it. And they were told a bunch of pack of lies that were easy to see through if you knew anything about what was going on at the time. They said that it would save the NHS £350 million a week. But actually, the reality is it's actually cost the NHS £500 million a week. That was totally true about the Christian colleague telling the woman to go on the honeymoon. She hoped the plane would crash. 100% genuine, unbelievable. I know, but true. I know. I can imagine it. I can imagine it. But someone who they go, it's okay to think these things because I'm religious. Like, I have to kind of like morally justify everything that I say and do. I wouldn't have said the things I've said about Trump carking it out loud on this channel had it not been for Trump giving me permission to do that by his response to other people dying, by his response to Rob Reiner and his wife being murdered by their son. He was cock-a-loot with fucking glee. And then saying, I'm glad Robert Mueller is dead. Well, fuck you then. He's given me permission to do that. My morality on that particular issue of not wishing death on people has shifted. Well, sorry. Not publicly wishing death on people has shifted. But yeah, I guess my moral stance on certain things has changed as I've got older. I've become a bit more radical, a bit more lefty as I've got older, I like to think. I'm certainly get a lot more vexed about discrimination against trans people because there's more discrimination against trans people than ever before for no good reason other than people are told, oh, you know what your big problem is in life? It's not our dependence on oil. No, it's trans people. Okay. Hope she was dragged off to HR when the new bride got home. Yeah. Gallifreyan Ren, I upset Nanny Chat, so I'll try again. My one commandment, don't be a dingus. Obsession could be deemed as an endomorphin feedback loop, as we do not normally do something without reward. Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose that argument when people's lives were pretty shit and they lost half their children, they'll have 17 children and 9 of them would die before the age of 5. Religion was really important back then because we had to deal with death of young people a lot more, which we don't have to deal with as much. Like a young person dies now and it is front page news. It is absolutely front page news because it's so unusual for young people to die these days. But back then, people were surrounded by death every day. And if you told people, well, you'll survive your own death and go to a magical place up in the sky, don't worry that your child has died because they've gone to a magical place in the sky. And I get it. I absolutely get it. It's a way of processing grief. But I think that if people really, 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 in their heart of hearts, if they really, really, really believed it, they wouldn't live the lives they live. You wouldn't have these evangelical churches in America with the, these football stadium sized churches with crystal chandeliers and golden accoutrements on every fucking temple fucking pillar. The money wouldn't be there, you know? If the Pope really believed in the afterlife and being judged, which is nothing new. I mean, don't forget, Christianity grew out of Judaism, which grew out of the ancient Egyptian beliefs. At the end of your life in ancient Egypt, your soul was measured to the weight of a feather, and if you were too heavy, you went to, I don't know, hell or something. Or you went if you balanced with a feather, then if your soul, the weight of your soul balanced with a feather, then you were allowed to go through to the next life or whatever it was, right? And that's continued on. It's a common thing in a lot of religions. But I'll just say this: I find it very difficult, and I understand people using religion for spiritual guidance, etc., 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 and that's fine. In the same way that I might read a book of Confucius quotes and take some, meaning from it, or I could read some Socrates or Plato or Aristotle and go, yeah, that's a really good point that this philosopher has made about how to live your life and how to live the best life and what you want to do. So that's fine. But when you sort of bring the whole big questions in it, not just like how to live a good life, which is the question that a lot of us once answered, and that's generally given one way or another in a lot of religious texts, but also in a lot of philosophical texts. How do you live a good life? How do you live a fulfilled life? Okay, that's something that, do you know what? Maybe they could have worked that out in the Bronze Age. Fine, family, friends, good food, good times, not getting too het up about shit, just being easygoing. The dude abides. Do you know what I mean, right? The big questions. How did life begin? How did the universe begin? How did we get here? What is consciousness? What happens after we die? If those questions were answered with 100% deadly accuracy in the motherfucking Bronze Age, where 99.99999% of people were fucking illiterate, I'll eat me fucking hat. I'm sorry, fuck off. No way. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound belligerent or confrontational, but there is no way they got that right. Because invariably, from religions all around the world, not just Christianity, not just the big ones, but from all of them, you whittle them down, and it was a wizard did it. A magical person did this thing. A magical person made all this magic happen. And they might be a magical person who lives on the top of a mountain, like in Greek myths, top of Mount Olympus. Those Greek gods were basically superheroes. They were humans with special magical powers, with the same anger, jealousy, rage, envy that humans suffer from. They were basically humans with superpowers. Or you take it through to this idea of like an all-loving God who allows children to go blind from a worm that crawls into their eyes in rivers in Africa. It's a weird thing for an all-loving God to do, but who am I to judge? Yeah, a wizard did it. Why is there thunder? Well, there's a guy with a big hammer and he's magic. So he's a wizard with a hammer. Yeah. Zeus with his lightning bolt. Yeah. Yeah. And one angry pagan saying love the atheist arrogance. Well, I think they didn't know about dinosaurs in the fucking Bronze Age, mate. Nobody knew about them. No one knew about germ theory. No one knew about electricity. No one knew about the internet or quantum theory. No one knew about how to get a rocket to go to the moon. No one knew how to fly. No one knew how to make a car. No one knew how to make a smartphone. Nobody knew a fuckload of stuff. We did not have a Large Hadron Collider. We did not have a James Webb Space Telescope. We didn't have any of this shit. We didn't know about atoms. There was postulation that things might be made of small things. But that was made by a philosopher. That wasn't made by a religious teacher or someone who founded a religion. And in fact, the atom was supposed to be indestructible. The word atom comes from the word meaning indestructible. When actually, no, you can split the atom, and there's stuff inside the atom. There's protons and neutrons, and maybe a couple of cheeky neutrinos. I don't know, but some quarks. We've got some quarks. Do you want some quarks? Got some quarks. We've got muons and tauons. Wow, all kinds of crazy shit inside our atoms. Didn't know that. I thought there were 4 elements. There's not. There's 118. We've got names now. It's great. They only got names about 10 years ago, all of them. So yeah, I just think, I know this is the argument from incredulity, but it's a fucking solid argument in a time when no one can fucking read or write or look through a microscope because microscopes hadn't been invented and telescopes hadn't been invented. They were like, yes, this is the only way. And it's often said that atheists just they disbelieve in just as many gods as everybody else who's religious. They just go one god further. There you go. Anyway, we got a little bit distracted there talking about religion, which again, if it helps people in their everyday life, got no problem with it whatsoever. I do have a little bit of a problem with people who use it as an excuse to be prejudiced and say, I am prejudiced. I hate gay people because the Bible tells me that it is bad for that to happen. Yeah, in the same fucking verse that it says it's bad to wear clothes woven of 2 types of material. It says it's bad to put 2 types of crop in the same field, or it's bad to wear a hat on a fucking Thursday, or it's bad to have a period and not burn a couple of pigeons to death. That's in the Bible. Every time you have a period, get down the chemist, get yourself some tampons and some sanitary towels, or maybe a moon cup or something. But while you're there, buy yourself a couple of pigeons so you can fucking put them to death. It's fucking in the Bible, mate. Yeah. By the way, there's another thing in the Bible that should be of interest to anyone who wears glasses. Because anyone with bad eyesight is not fit to come to the tabernacle of the Lord. Did you know that? Yeah. It's bad eyesight and festering testicles. You don't need to have both. It's one or the other. So, if you've got festering testicles, then you're not getting in the tabernacle. If you've got bad eyesight, you're not getting in either. Fuck yous all. You're going to hell for eternity for wearing glasses. Anyway, so we were talking about Trump, weren't we? Talking about the response. Look, we're going on now for an hour and 20 minutes. Somebody even fucking started talking about this. So we were talking about the discussion of the European Defence Union alongside NATO, and there's a greater willingness in Europe to act independently of US leadership. And then we've got the EU cohesion strengthening instead of fracturing. We're seeing that Trump's interference has not only failed to divide Europe, but it's actually reinforced EU identity. In the same way that sort of English identity is kind of like, well, we're not Scottish and we're not Welsh. So European identity has become, well, we're not American. and that builds support for institutional reform. And we see momentum for changes like qualified majority voting and foreign policy in the EU, which will reduce the veto power of single states like Hungary or the Czech Republic or Bulgaria, who've been blocking stuff that the EU wanted to do when it comes to dealing with the threat from Russia. And we've seen global alliances beginning to diversify. Countries are actively reducing their reliance on the US. And it's not just Europe, it's Japan, it's South Korea, it's Singapore, it's countries in the Middle East. And there's talk of the increased cooperation in these middle powers and middle countries. Mark Carney talked about this earlier in the year. He said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, which is very true. And Canada has signed multiple new economic and security deals, which have taken it beyond the orbit of the US. And we've seen an emergence at the same time of a coordinated progressive internationalism. We've seen a summit in Barcelona that brought leaders such as Pedro Sanchez and Luis da Silva, the leader of Brazil, together. Over 40 countries involved across Europe, Africa, the Americas, and they had this core shared agenda where the about the redistribution of globalization gains. We're talking about taxation, investment, inequality reduction. These have actually been spoken about in an international summit, which wasn't happening before because it was always America pushing for capitalism. This was a major gathering of centre-left leaders, and the purpose was to rebuild a global progressive agenda after years of drift and infighting between different leftist groups in different countries because we didn't have a common enemy to all come together to fight. Now Trump has given us that common enemy, which is great because people on the left, it's a bit like herding cats at the best of times. So yeah, which is not great. So yeah, this Barcelona summit in April was wonderful. Colin says, I wear glasses and I've had the snip. Oh well, don't know if you're gonna get in. Mate. I don't like fish, says Martin. Shellfish are basically slugs and snails. Yes. Gallifreyan, I consider myself atheist, but in the sense I neither believe nor care. I live my best life, and any deity can judge me accordingly. Happy to coexist in peace. Like I said, don't be a dingus. Well, yeah, whatever religion is right, whether it's all of them, some of them, none of them, one of them, two of them, whatever, right? Whatever one is right, if you lead a good life and you don't be horrible, that means you go in the good place after you die, which I find, a bit fanciful that you go to a nice place after you die. But, I think you're going to be dead once you die. But like before you were born. But that's just me, right? Just lead a good life. Because as Homer Simpson sagely pointed out, that what if you pick the wrong God? Each week you go into church and you're just making him madder and madder by praying to the wrong God. Yep. You're making the real God madder and madder. Very good point by the great thinker Homer Simpson. So we're seeing a shift in centre-left thinking. There's been an explicit rejection of the post-1990s third way neoliberalism. There's an acknowledgement that growth did not translate into broadly shared prosperity, and entire regions have been economically left behind. There's been an emphasis on diplomacy over militarism and strengthening an emphasis on strengthening multilateral institutions, which comes with the redistribution of globalization gains and also the regulation of big tech and global finance, which needs to be done. So we've not just got a common enemy now internationally on the left. We've got a common enemy in Trump and the Trump agenda, Project 2025, Planeteer, and all that shit. But we've also got the things that we want to do as well, that we're coming together more and more to actually. So we've got this outside threat, Trump, and then we've also got this internal stuff that we're saying, okay, what can we do to make life better for the vast majority of people living in communities in our countries and all around the world? And the policy focus in this meeting that they had in Barcelona last month, they were talking about wage growth, regional investments, industrial strategy, this stuff that is really, really important. And it's not a nice to have. This is a fundamental. This is an absolute fucking fundamental. And the far-right momentum has shown signs of its limits. The Orban defeat in particular removes a key ideological anchor for right-wing global populism. And you've also got the fact that CPAC was, which is not as much fun as, CPAC, which is not as much fun as K-pop, which was funded by Orban from taxes that he was taking from the people of Hungary. Trump-backed candidates have failed consistently to convert support into votes in any kind of by-elections or special elections, as they call them in America, or local elections in America, statewide elections. They've done really badly. They're running into the midterms on terrible polling. And some right-wing parties around the world have been distancing themselves from Trump due to electoral risk, not least the refuckers here in the UK. And Trump's approach has created this backlash dynamics, right? Where overt interference triggers nationalist resistance in the opposite direction. It undermines legitimacy of aligned far-right parties because it's hard to look like you're a nationalist party if you're just doing what Trump says. And if Trump's insulting our country and insulting our servicemen and women, and that to a lot of people, these are a bad taste in their mouth. He's been disrespectful to our king. I don't think a lot of people care about him being disrespectful to Keir Starmer, because that's just Keir Starmer's lot, isn't it? He can't catch a break, that guy. But Martin Harrow can catch a break because he's given me £5. Yay! A step closer to Diz's treat. Yay! Thank you. And one angry pagan says, as a pagan, I don't care what you believe, so long as you're not infringing or harming me or mine, kin, and friends. I don't understand why I have to be insulted by my own allies. I don't think it's insulting, one angry pagan, for other people to say this is what I believe. If you're talking about Christianity, I'm sure you're going to say you don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, because you don't. You're a pagan. Why would you believe that? But I don't think that should be seen as insulting to Christians, because they will take it as an insult, won't they? Because a lot of people do. When you say, I just don't believe, like, how dare you not believe in the same thing that I believe in? But yeah, I just think that the main message of any religion should be live and let live, and that different religions can coexist. People can, and we should be covering all religions and none. But if you're a pagan in this country, I know you get discriminated against. If you're an atheist in America, you get discriminated against. They ever had an atheist president? No, and I don't think they're ever going to. In America, if you say you're an atheist to someone, it's akin to saying you're a paedophile. Like, seriously, Americans take real fucking exception to it. If you say, no, I don't believe in anything. But yeah, and people who have been atheists have been put to death for fucking centuries for opting out and saying, well, I don't really believe in that. I nearly got rejected from entry to Bangladesh back in 2002 because I didn't put a religion down on the form on entry. So yeah. Oh yes, Miss Paula Thomas has put £5 in the super chat fund. Neoliberalism has this thing in common with trickle down economics. It doesn't work. Yeah. Isn't neoliberalism? It is trickle down economics, isn't it? Cathal OG, the original gangster. Thank you very much to Cathal for the €5. Happy Bank Holiday Monday, all. Looking for some tips, holiday recommendations for bringing young family to Europe for a few nights late July, please. Okay, cool. Excellent. So I'm going to set off the confetti. Okay, some tips for Liverpool. Okay, I can do this. So if you've got a vehicle and you can get around, you can always go and check out the places where the Beatles grew up. So there's Paul's house and John's house on Menlove Avenue. There's Penny Lane. You can go to Penny Lane. You can go to Ringo's house and George Harrison's house. Get a photo outside. That doesn't cost anything. But Sefton Park in the south of the city is just fucking incredible and amazing. And go there, have a picnic. It's lovely. You can get there from the train, using the train from town. Go to St Michael's train station and walk for about 10 minutes, and you get to the wonderful park there along Lark Lane, which is also gorgeous, and you should definitely check that out. Down at the docks, there's loads of cool stuff to do. If you go to the Albert Dock, there's a place that does escape rooms, but they do outdoor escape rooms. They give you an iPad, and you're sent out onto the city streets to go and solve clues, and it involves going up to like statues and looking on the plaque and working out what letters are missing and all this, and working out the clues, and you finally work out the clues, and it lets you go to the next part of the journey, which is really fun. You get like 2 hours to do it, and it's if you get a nice sunny day, that is a lot of fun. Well recommended. If you got kids, obviously you can't be going out to the bars and stuff, but there is a really, really cool place in Liverpool called what's it called? Hang on one sec. Optical Illusion Place, Liverpool. It's called Really Great or something. Quirky Quarter, right? Top tip with kids. Quirky Quarter in Liverpool. It's right in the city centre, and it's full of these rooms that have got all these mad special effects, optical illusions. There's like a room where everything is it's like a kitchen and everything's upside down, so like things are bolted to the ceiling, so you can take a photo like lying on the floor, and then you turn the photo upside down, it looks like you're lying on the ceiling. There's like a big chair and a little chair away from each other, so you can sit someone on the chair, and because of it's like Lord of the Rings, the way they made the hobbits look small, so it's all like optical illusions. It's really cool. It's called Quirky Quarter. Really, really recommend that for the kids. It is a lot of fun, no matter what age they are. Really recommend the outside escape room as well. You don't want to be stuck in an escape room, but yeah, running around. But yeah, there's also the city centre. You've got the cathedrals. I wouldn't bother with the Catholic one because I don't think it's that great. That's my own opinion on it. But the Anglican cathedral is free to get in. Last time I went, and it's just absolutely spectacular. Designed by Giles Gilbert Scott, the great architect of also Battersea Power Station, the Oxo Building, the Tate Modern Building. Also, the red telephone box was his. His grandfather, George Gilbert Scott, is the guy who designed the great hotel outside St Pancras Station where the Spice Girls filmed their Wannabe video. And also, he designed our local parish church in West Derby. That was George Gilbert Scott, along with a bunch of awesome shit. The Gilbert Scotts, mate, they were pretty good. They were pretty good at the old architecture. There was a bunch of them. As a Titanic nerd, if I ever find a reason to stay in Liverpool, I'll be staying at the former White Star offices. Yeah, that closed down, by the way. Yeah, there was a hotel there. It was brilliant. It was really nice, and we used to go up to the cafe restaurant on the top floor. Had really good views. It's closed down. The last time I went past it, it was closed. But you can go outside. You can see the balcony from where they read the names of the dead of the Titanic. But there is a Titanic hotel, which hasn't really got a link with the Titanic. It's just the name. Now, if you try and go there on a match day, forget about it because it's right next to Everton's new stadium on the dock, on the old Dock Road. But if you can get there midweek, they do really, really good offers, and I can't recommend the spa enough. It's right down in the cellars of this old warehouse and at the beginning of the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, where it comes out from the Albert Dock. The Leeds-Liverpool Canal now extends to the Albert Dock, so you can bring a long boat, the Vikings, a narrow boat, you can bring it in, and that's worth checking out as well. And also, Liverpool is a very, very walkable city. Like, it's a very walkable city, and there's loads of really cool shit to see. I don't know if kids are going to be too interested in architecture, but there's some really, really beautiful buildings there. Get yourselves a peasant guide and go and have a look. Oh my God, the Anglican Cathedral is closed after the fire this weekend. There was a fire! Fucking hell, there was a fire in the Anglican Cathedral. I didn't even fucking hear about this. What the fuck? Shit. Oh my God. Firefighters tackle blaze in Cathedral's tower. Oh my God. Well, it's reopened. The fire was extinguished within half an hour with firefighters blaming an electrical fire on the balcony on the top floor. Whoa. That's crazy. That is crazy. Now, there's a story here. There was a fire on Friday. It's been reopened now. Smoke could be seen billowing from the cathedral. God, that's a bit worrying, isn't it? All right, it's reopened now. It looks cool. I always think it reminds me of Deep Thought, from the TV show of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Especially if you go down Gambia Terrace, which is the road that runs along the side of it. But yeah, there's loads of really cool stuff, things to check out in Liverpool. But with kids, I'd definitely recommend Quirky Corner. And also, if there is that. I mean, you could do a room, whatever they call it, an escape room. The Anglican Cathedral. There's a lot of hotels along the Strand. Yeah. You can't get to the sightseeing bus, hop on, hop off. They're owned by Tin Ed from Brookside. Are they? That's brilliant. I have no issue. Okay, sorry. I have no issue with anyone saying they don't believe what I believe. It's just needlessly mocking that hurts, especially when we are already treated as a joke by many. Well, I don't know if you are pagan. Look, I mean, I can't talk for your experience, but I've got respect for pagans in the same way I've got respect for Christians and Jews and Muslims. It's their beliefs. I just don't share those beliefs. And when I give my reasons for not sharing those beliefs, it's just usually from an argument from incredulity. But that's not to say it's stupid. It's just that I can't get my brain around that being the way it is and why things are the way they are. But yeah, I mean, I know that you're particularly you feel it a lot more acutely than others. But I've got friends who are pagan. Obviously, Drew Galdron, our faux bojo mate, he's a pagan. And when I see the pagans going, at Glastonbury, or when we see them at the Stonehenge during the summer solstice or the winter solstice, I'm like, well, that's their religion. That's great. I don't have a problem with it. I didn't know that there were so many people out there who were like, oh, you're a pagan, I'm not going to let you stay in this hotel, or I'm not going to let you marry my daughter, or I'm not going to let you marry, or whatever. But all I can speak for is my experience being an atheist and traveling around the world. And it's, you generally don't tell anyone, you know? I wouldn't give my handle when I'm traveling around the world as one angry atheist, because some countries you're just like, yeah, you're going to be discriminated against. Let's put it that way. You might end up in jail. But yeah, there you go. Imagine mocking religion today of all days. May the 4th be with you. Yes, Loki. Thank you very much. Loki, named after the Norse god of mischief, and celebrating Star Warsism or Jediism, is it? Won't be any matches in July, Graham. They stored dead GIs of the Titanic Hotel, waiting to be shipped back to the US in World War II. Well, there you go. But if you go to the spa, it's in the basement. It's great. It's like a fucking adventure. Like, honestly, it's kind of like, it's weird. It's like having a spa in a fucking dungeon or something. It's fucking great. I don't know why. There's something about it that really appeals to me. Probably the brickwork. Yes. Well, take care and be kind. Peeps and peepettes, I'm off for a hot bath and pamper. Woohoo! Did we do the we didn't do the confetti. We got another confetti, didn't we, from Kafal, asking for recommendations. Did I do the confetti? I can't remember. Let's do it again. Confetti! Yay! Thanks, Kafal. Woo! So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in Liverpool. Remind me again at some point. You don't have to pay a super chat for it, but remind me again. If I've thought of some other cool stuff to do in Liverpool, some stuff that I really like to do. Also, Cathal, let me know. I might be in Liverpool. You never know. Spend a lot of time in Liverpool. Your family's there. In 2021, 2022, a study in the UK found over 90% of pagans feel their faith is treated less seriously than others, leading to a profound hesitation to engage with formal reporting structures. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll take your point on that. One angry pagan. I sort of, I think you're probably getting sort of swept in with the other religions that are very much like, you cannot mock this religion in any way, shape, or form. Most notably, I mean, Islam is like that, but don't forget, a lot of Christianity is like that as well. The uproar about Life of Brian, Monty Python's film, and the Christian establishment were like trying to stop it from being released in certain areas in the country. Local authorities were saying, no, we're not releasing this film because it mocks Christianity. I mean, they said it mocked Jesus, which it doesn't. Jesus is obviously shown as a different character at the beginning, but it does mock Christianity. It's relentlessly mocks Christianity. It absolutely does. And the Christians were not happy about that. But I think the problem is, if you mock one religion, I guess you end up mocking them all. Yeah, but maybe pagans feel that more than anybody else because their religion is just less mainstream. Maybe that's the problem. And maybe if it was more mainstream, the mockery wouldn't be felt as acutely in the same way that I don't think Christians today really worry about Monty Python's Life of Brian. I don't know. But yeah, I would never mind being mocked so much if you weren't treated like that already. Well, no, you would mind being mocked. Anyone would mind being mocked. I think I don't think you can say that you wouldn't mind it. If people weren't being tits about it. But yeah, oh sorry, you're taking the message away. Sorry, one angry pagan. But yeah, I mean, obviously being a pagan is central to your identity, and that's why. I mean, I suppose people take the piss out of me for, I don't know, things that I find important in life. I'm trying to think of something. But yeah, generally speaking, people just like to take the piss out of each other all the time, and it's something that humans do because we're gobshites like that. Sorry. I mean, You know, if I ever talk about my travels on the Friday or Sunday night social, I always get like, "Oh, Graham, shut up!" But that's like really part of my identity. It's who I am. But yeah, I get mocked for supporting Everton Football Club because they're shit. But you know, what can you do? What can you do? So I advocate better recognition. Yeah. I suppose so. I think that would have to come from more people becoming pagans. One angry pagan. I think it's just a numbers thing, isn't it? And also maybe it's weird, isn't it? Because paganism is like one of the oldest religions on these islands, and yet it's treated very much. It's very much lumped in with New Age religions, isn't it? Because I think a lot of the New Age stuff stole a lot of the mythology and the iconography from pagan religions. And yeah, so it kind of gets grouped in with the New Age woo when actually it's older than all the other religions put together, except perhaps Hinduism, which is insanely old. Thanks, best place for only a bit biased Liverpool knowledge. Yeah. I'm only a bit biased towards the best city in the world. A bit upset about the cathedral getting on fire though. That sucks, doesn't it? Anyway, so I've started the super chat thing again. There you go. We might get 3. I don't know. It's probably because I've been rabbiting on so much, but we will get back to the main story today at some point. So no one watches this afterwards. If you're watching it live, you can take part in it and have a conversation. If you're watching it later, it's like, what's he going on about now? But yeah, Trump's approach to all this has created backlash, right? This backlash dynamics with this national resistance in the opposite direction towards Trump and undermining the legitimacy of far right parties, as I mentioned, and it makes the US look like an antagonist, not a stable ally, but someone who's actually out there to disrupt things in our countries and meddle in our affairs. And we don't like other people meddling in our affairs. End of. We don't want the neighbour to come round and fucking try and, play peace broker when we're having a row with our brothers or sisters. Unilateralism exposes system vulnerabilities as well. The Iran war highlights the lack of coordination, the weak international legal justification for what Trump is doing, and it forces allies to reconsider the dependence on the security guarantees that the US used to put in place. They feel a lot less like a guarantee these days. And then you've got the economic shocks, which have reinforced the political damage. You've got the energy instability at the moment, added to the cost of living pressures, and that reinforces demand for state intervention, for fairer distribution of wealth, for economic security over pure market liberalism. It pushes for wind turbines and solar panels, and then pushes for hydroelectric plants and geothermic power and tidal power, wave power, all this kind of stuff, nuclear power. That pulls us away from this dependence on oil. And US is the biggest exporter of oil at the moment. And this is not just on a side of the US not being there as an ally for us anymore, but also the perceived competence of the US has declined massively because of Trump and his mercurial nature. This isn't just a disagreement. This is a loss of confidence in the execution of planning of exercises or economic cooperation. That we're seeing, all the countries around the world are losing that confidence in America's ability to deliver on deals that it makes, on security cooperation agreements, all that kind of stuff. That we're saying, well, are they a reliable partner anymore? Trump is proving that they're not. And in the same way that when we talk about rejoining the EU, and some people say, well, does the EU want us? Which is a really stupid argument to make, and I really hate it. And we've talked about this many, many times. The EU, at the end of the day, is not stupid. It's not petty. It is a rules-based organization, and it will negotiate its arse off to get it the best deal for itself. That is true. But there is no good reason for it economically to say no to the UK. The only thing politically that is saying no is this idea that we might be an unreliable member And we might, if Nigel Farage becomes prime minister, we might decide, that's the moment that we decide to leave again. Which is why when we do rejoin the EU, they have to make it almost impossible for us to leave again. And sorry, not the EU. We have to make it almost impossible. We need to enshrine into law that we can only leave the EU if we get the support of 2/3 of the people voting in individually England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. We'll never get that to leave the EU again. We never got it in the first place. The best they could ever hope for is 52%, based on a pack of lies told by a bunch of disgusting millionaires and billionaires who did not have this country's best interests at heart. All they had at heart was the best interests of Russia and their bank balances. That's it. We've done so badly out of Brexit, as predicted smugly by the people who said this is a very bad idea, including myself. Everything I said has everything I said would happen has happened. We've been hit massively economically. Our global standing has taken a massive hit. It's really grim. It's really fucking grim. And now Labour, for whatever they do, no one's gonna give them any credit, because the country is on its fucking knees. It's on its knees because of Brexit, and there's not much Labour can do really to lift us up, because of the low point that we're at. And people are going, oh well, the Tories didn't work, Labour didn't work. I love that they gave the Tories 14 years of the benefit of the doubt, but for Labour they get 14 months. That's it. So it's been 14 months. Why haven't you fixed everything? Yeah. Fusion is progressing, sure, but I'm not sure that by then other green energy will have evolved. I think fusion's bollocks. I think it's bollocks. I think it's like hydrogen or carbon capture. I think it's bollocks. I can't see a large scale system that can be set up where the amount of energy going in is less than the amount of energy going out when it comes to fusion, because you need to build up such high pressure, high gravity. Well, gravity, but you need to get those atoms to fuse together. Sorry, that's not the correct word to use, I know, but stick together. It just requires so much energy, and they finally cracked it. I think it was last year they finally managed to do this experiment where they did manage for the first ever time to get more energy out than they put in, but there was a load of bloody asterisks, I can't say that, on it, saying, well, it was only in this laboratory and under this extreme conditions. And trying to set up a nuclear fusion reactor, right, costs billions and billions and billions. And for the same amount of money, you could make a wind farm the size of Lincolnshire that would power the whole nation. I just can't see it. And I don't think that scientists should give up on it. I think they should keep fighting for it and keep working towards it, and see, maybe it will be a thing in the future, but I'm not putting all my chips on it. In the same way I'm not putting all my chips on hydrogen or going to fucking Mars. We've got stuff now that we've got that fucking works, that's been proven and is dead cheap, and is a fantastic alternative to oil in every way that it could be a fantastic alternative to oil. And it works, especially for making electricity. I know we'll still need oil for other stuff, plastics and roads and blah, 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 blah. But, when it comes to burning it, when it comes to the amount of oil that we burn, I think it's ridiculous, especially when it's a limited resource. And it will run out at a point. I don't think it's impossible, One Angry Pagan. I don't think it's impossible. I just don't think that it's ever going to be, in my lifetime, economically viable as a way of producing power, unless something shifts, unless something changes. I mean, they've been going at it now They've been trying to achieve nuclear fusion for over 100 years. I mean, it's been a long time, you know. Rutherford split the atom, which is relatively easy compared with sticking it together. Want to save the planet and become the richest person on the planet, find a way to harvest methane hydrates from source, and we remove a serious tipping point. We also have access to a new fuel source. Yeah, that'd be good. I think we should support Musk et al. Going to Mars. Can we vote? Yeah, Kate. Yeah, that'd be good. I remember hearing Nick Abbott say that some people only Googled what is Brexit or what is the EU after they voted for fucking Brexit. Yeah, Sheffield, Steve. They'll never get 52% again. But also, and most importantly, it has to be with the consent of all of the home nations. It can't just be England and the English people in Wales dragging the rest of the Union out of the EU against their will. But yeah, there's yeah. So look, just to, I want to sort of conclude on this, on sort of Trump triggering his own counter movement, his attempt to dominate global politics and his bullshit about Greenland and Panama and invading Canada. It's just strengthened multilateralism. It's revived progressive cooperation, and it's accelerated independence from US dominance. The centre-left is adapting to this. It's not dying. It's becoming stronger than ever. It's learning from its post-2008 failures, and it's moving towards further globalization, a stronger role for the state, stronger regulations of stuff like AI and social media and media in general, and also businesses, trade, and also we're seeing more push to international cooperation, but with accountability, which is something that Trump doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the idea of cooperation. He's never had friends. He doesn't understand the idea of accountability because he's a privileged little fucking shit. He's the 4 horrible children from Willy Wonka's chocolate factory who just end up in horrible things happening to him. He's Mike TV, Augustus Gloop, Veruca Salt, and the other one, all slapped into one amorphous blob of horrificness, like the monster at the end of The Substance. Sorry, that was a bit of a spoiler there for those of you who haven't seen the Substance yet. But God, that's a good horror movie. It's such a good horror movie. Asterisks are nothing to do with the French cartoon character. Stop making me say asterisks. I can't say it. Miss Paula Thomas, £5 super chat. I agree that wind solar are excellent replacements for old gas coal, but fusion is possible and it is getting closer. Well, thanks, Paula. Yeah, this is why I feel about the same way I do about hydrogen. I've been told this all my life. As a kid growing up in the 80s watching Tomorrow's World and QED and Equinox and Horizon, and they were always going, fusion just around the corner. Look at these scientists looking for fusion, and they were looking for hydrogen. They were a hydrogen fuel cell. It's got to have a hydrogen power car. It's got to have hydrogen. And I'm like, forgive me for being impatient, but it's always been 10 years away since I was a little boy, and I'm 47 now, so I'm just a bit sick of it. And I don't think we should be putting all our chips in it. In fact, I think if we've got a few billion to spare, I don't think we should be putting it into researching fusion. I think we should be putting it into wind turbines or using reservoirs as batteries, or upgrading the grid so we can use our car batteries to store energy when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining. Why was the nuclear power closed? Because everyone had gone fishing. It's very good. I like that. Veruca Salt was such a good band. Yeah, they were. I like Veruca Salt. That's a bit of a blast from the past, isn't it? 90s grunge. So anyway, Europe is growing up. It's being forced to grow up politically and militarily with less reliance on Uncle Sam, more cohesive internal decision-making, greater strategic confidence, and global power is being more distributed. There's a shift from the unipolar US world into a multipolar system. And more countries are influencing global rules and institutions. And yeah, look, I'm not going to blow smoke up your arse and say everything's fucking wonderful, right? The chaos is real. The wars, the instability, the political extremism. But the reaction to that chaos is just as real. And for the first time in years, we're seeing on the left proper organisation across countries, proper coordination, and a clear alternative vision. I mean, we may not have known what we wanted before, but we know what we definitely don't want, and that's Donald Trump's fucking take on politics, on life, on how life should be lived. And Trump has tried to break the system in which we all live, but he may have accidentally forced the world to build a better one. And good, great. That's a silver lining to all this. That's what I want. It's what I want to see. I want us moving towards renewables. I want us to moving towards energy independence. I want us working with the middle powers, with Canada, with Australia, with South Africa, with the BRICS countries. Apart from Russia, they can fuck off. But working with India, working with China, even for a better future for all of humanity. America's not interested in that now. America's opted out. America's going to be presiding over the World Cup next month. God, that's going to be a bin fire, isn't it? I don't think that the stadiums are going to be empty, I just think it's going to be a domestic audience. I think 90% of the people going to the World Cup next month is going to be a domestic audience. But yeah, America has shot its bolt. It's done its dash. It's fucked its goose. And it's not coming back. It's not coming back. Because, like I said earlier on the show, once countries invest in renewables, it's not like they go, oh, well, we did that for 6 months, we'll stop now. Because the renewables still work. In the past, when they've done it because of moral reasons, because they wanted to, do the right thing. It's not a case of doing the right thing anymore. It's a case of doing the cheaper thing, doing the thing that allows you more power, literally, not just in terms of electricity, but also political power, because you're not beholden to the machinations of lunatics, tin pot dictators around the world invading their neighbors, destroying pipelines, blockading ports, stopping people going through certain straits or choke points around the world. We're not beholden to that anymore. Great, cool. One Angry Pagan says, to be fair, I was just wondering how the other green energy sources will have evolved and matured 20, 30 years in the future. I wasn't actually trying to focus on fusion, lol. No, I don't think you were, mate. I just, it is my take on it that it's sometimes used by people in the filthy fuel industry. Hydrogen's really bad for this, but it's used by people in the filthy fuel industry to say, no, don't worry about wind turbines, don't worry about solar farms. What you really want is to invest loads of money in this unproven technology that we still haven't quite got around. I had this fucking solar panel on my bloody calculator back in the 80s. I had a solar powered calculator. You just put your finger over the solar panel on it, and the calculator would go off. It's not rocket science. We've been able to make it for decades. Solar panels, wind turbines. It's not rocket science. We've been able to make them for decades, and they work. They really fucking work. You just need loads of them, and they need to be pretty cheap. They are cheap now. The price of solar panels has come down 90% in the last 15 years. 90%. Jesus Christ. As happens with any new technology. And you're going to be seeing more and more electric cars on the road. You're going to be seeing more and more second-hand electric cars that are up for grabs, that are going to be cheaper. Because at the moment, electric cars are too much for most people to be able to afford, unless they have some salary sacrifice scheme like what we have with our car. But we don't own that. We rent the car at the moment. I don't know if we'll ever own an electric car. Say ever. I don't think we're going to own an electric car in the next couple of years, but, the government is now giving £1,500 off an electric car if you buy one, which is a fantastic scheme that not enough people know about. They're giving money off getting insulation put in your home, getting an electric car, getting a heat pump installed. This stuff is great stuff. It is really good stuff. Cathal, thank you very much for the €5 super chat. That's really kind of you. Much appreciated, Graham. Happy family here. Looking forward to Liverpool. Keeping it somewhat close to home, given the state of the world. Liverpool's a really cool place. It's just a really cool, fun place. And I really recommend checking out the city centre, especially in July. Go up to Cheves Park, right, which is at the back of Liverpool 1. And there's little cafes there in the park. There's like a Airstream caravan that parks up there each summer, and they have a little bar out there, and they have bean bags. They have bean bags on the grass. It's fucking amazing, and that's right in the city centre. So you can do some shopping, go and get some alcohol-free cider for your kids, and sit on bean bags in the sun. It's wonderful. Like, honestly, at Liverpool, I can't recommend it enough. And when you ask me like things to do in Liverpool, my brain starts fizzing over because I'm like, oh my god, there's so much stuff to do. But yeah, having a walk, if the kids like walking, if they don't mind. If you walk from Liverpool, I mean, depends where you stay, but if you're staying in the city centre, I would recommend getting the train to St Michael's, having a picnic in the park, and walking down Lark Lane to Sefton Park, going and checking out the Palm House in Sefton Park, which is a fucking brilliant place. And there's always something going on there. You won't be allowed in if it's a wedding, but usually you're allowed in. And then walking back. So if you're at Sefton Park in the south of the city, you can walk over to Otterspool Prom, and that is a promenade that takes you along the river all the way back to the city centre. And for the most part, there's no road anywhere near you. The road is a long way away, so it's a really nice, pleasant walk, especially on a sunny day. It's a nice long walk from Otterspool Prom to the city centre. And there's a point where you get to, and it's where the marina comes out, and they've got a lock there that allows the boats out. And if the lock is open, you can't get across. There's like, you've got to walk across the lock to get to the Albert Dock. So sometimes you're stuck there for a little while. I always thought it'd be a great place to sell like donuts and coffee or something. Set up a little stall there for people who are waiting for the lock to close so they can climb back over. But you can see all of Liverpool's docklands there. A lot of it's been changed now over the years. It's no longer docks, but there's a lot of history there. And if I can recommend one place to definitely go and see, although the architecture of what they're planning to build is a bit upsetting, but I just hate the fact that modern architects are like, oh wow, look, it's an old Grade 1 listed building, the Albert Dock in Liverpool, the biggest Grade 1 listing building outside the capital, I think. And what are we going to do with it? Oh, we're going to put a big glass box on the side of it. Oh, a big glass box, you say? Yes, a big glass box. Is that what you did with the John Rylands Library in Manchester? Yes, it is. We put a big glass box on the side of it. Why did we do that? I don't know. What did you do with the Blue Coat Chambers in Liverpool? Well, it was the oldest building in Liverpool city centre. It dates back to 1707 or something. So what we decided to do was we'd stick a concrete block on the side of it, because one of its wings was damaged during the war or had a fire or something. So we replaced it with a big concrete block. That happened. And we'll stick tiles that look like bricks on one side. Yeah. Anyway, but having said that, if it's open, the Liverpool Slavery Museum is well worth checking out and seeing how Liverpool made all its money, which was from slavery, and just give your kids a little bit of an eye opener on the old British Empire. So when they're taught in school about the good things the British Empire did, like the democracy and the bureaucracy and the trains and the cricket and the slavery, you can actually come back with the things that were bad about the British Empire, which were the slavery. Other things. Can Everton beat City later, please, Graham? Are you an Arsenal fan, Sid, by any chance? Thank you very much for the £2 super chat there. It would be great. It would be absolutely great. It's a home game in Liverpool, 8 o'clock tonight, I think it is. Everton are playing Man City. Man City are vying to get back onto the top of the league. They've got 2 games in hand, so and they're 6 points behind. So I really hope we beat them. In the same way, yesterday, I think was it Man City were playing, and Man United were playing. When it comes to Man United, right? It's any team that are playing them, I'll support. I'll support Man City over Man United. Don't tell Toby Christian that. But yeah. Museum of Liverpool Life, also very good. Yes. Oh, Martin Harrow, that's a very good point. So, also, sorry, this is to Cathal again. Go to William Brown Street in Liverpool. It's the only street in Liverpool that doesn't have a shop or a pub or a church on it. And there is a museum there, Liverpool World Museum, which is well worth checking out. It's an awesome museum. And next door to that is the Central Library, and that is well worth going into. There's a modern bit that you walk into, and if you turn to your right, you'll go into the reading room, and it's absolutely fabulous in there. It's this round, big room. You can't make any noise because it echoes around the room, and it's got these tables that are set out like fingers on a clock, and it's just a wonderful bit of architecture. And then you can actually go up to the top of the library, and there's a cafe on the top, and you can look out over the city. You're right next to St. George's Hall, which is also worth checking out if it's open. Wonderful, wonderful thing. And also, I mean, if you're coming by the train, if you're coming in on a train, just have a look around Lime Street Station when you get in. It's one of the oldest train stations still in use in the world. And it wasn't the beginning of the very first dedicated passenger train service. That was actually the Crown Street Station, which doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, it was only a few years later that Lime Street began. But that is an incredible structure, absolutely incredible. And opposite it is the wonderful, wonderful St. George's Hall, based on the Parthenon over in Athens. Really great stuff. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. I would add the WATU Museum. The WATU. I'm going to try and work out what this stands for. WATU, the Western Approaches. Is that Western Approaches? Western Approaches, yes, it was. Hey, I got it right. I just put that into Google. Western Approaches, yes. I would also recommend Western Approaches Museum if you can get there. And that is a secret wartime bunker type thing where a lot of intelligence was put together during World War II. Well worth checking out. Also, what might be fun for the kids? I don't know. It was fun for me. They do tours of the old Mersey Tunnel, Queensway Tunnel, right? And it is really worth checking out because you get to go into see the extraction fans. I think they call them the Indestructibles or something, that have been running non-stop pretty much for 100 years now. It's coming up to the 100th anniversary of the tunnel. It was, at the time it was built, it was the longest road tunnel in the world, and it was actually built as a circle, right? With the road deck here, and underneath was space for two rails, and they were going to have trams, so it was going to be a double-decker tunnel. This is how fucking amazing the engineering was of the 1920s. As a tourist on this tour, and it's only, when I did it, it was only a few quid each. I don't know if they put the prices up, but it's run by Mersey Travel, and they take you under the road deck of the tunnel. So you've got cars literally above your head on the deck above you, and you can get into the secret deck underneath. The trams were never put in because the ferry crossed the Mersey people complained, and they said, no, you can't let people do this. In fact, for a long time, you weren't allowed to take a taxi through the Mersey Tunnel. So if you wanted to take a taxi, it had to go through the tunnel. It had to go all the way to Birkenhead, and then it got to the other end. It had to turn around and come back. True story. Anyway, would love to speculate on what green energy may look like in the future at some point on the stream. Thinking of doing that with Vegan Elite on the Eco Flakes show too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm up for a bit of speculation, but we have got stuff now that works. Can we just use that? But yeah, Western Approach is definitely worth checking out. I've been there. On slavery, we did break away first and fight for equality against everyone else, thanks to the Magna Carta. One might argue we did so against our best interests at that time, a rare honourable act. Oh, I don't know, Captain Coconut. I don't know. Don't forget when it happened. It didn't happen in a vacuum. 1807. Right? Slavery was banned. It wasn't banned in the British Empire until the 1830s, right? It was the time of the Industrial Revolution. And it got to a point where it just didn't make economic sense. I mean, it never made any moral sense, but it didn't make any economic sense. And that's how your William Wilberforces managed to get the act through Parliament. Wasn't just pushing people on morality, on the disgustingness of the slave trade, but it was also because it just wasn't as economically viable as it used to be at the time of the Industrial Revolution. It made more sense for the people in power to just pay people a pittance. So they had to sort out their own food, sort out their own accommodation. You didn't have to worry about them running away all the time. They would voluntarily come into work for a pittance in your factories. You see, the thing is, slavery is something where I suppose if you're just doing backbreaking manual labor, you can get away with it. But when people are working in factories, when people are making skilled buildings, like for a long time it was thought that slaves made the pyramids, but it's come out now that no, it's been known for a while now. It wasn't slaves. It was manual workers. And I love this new theory about the pyramids, by the way, just going on a bit of a tangent here. I love this new theory about how they built it so accurately and didn't leave any evidence behind of ramps or anything like that. There's no evidence of ramps. We don't know where. If there were ramps, you'd expect to find holes at regular points in the pyramid itself, but there aren't any. So what they think is they built a pyramid that was roughly the right shape, and then they carved the pyramid out from top to bottom from that pile of rocks, which makes way more sense because it is a lot easier to make a 90-degree angle and make all of the bits at the top line up. Like if the pyramid was like a couple of inches out on any of its sides, it wouldn't meet in the middle. So the thinking is, and this is why a lot of earlier pyramids and pyramids in other cultures didn't end in a point, because then they could be a bit out. So if you look at the Mayan pyramids, they don't end in a point. They've got a building on top of them. If you look at earlier pyramids that were built in Saqqara and south of Cairo, the first one was Zosa's step pyramid, and that was a pyramid that was literally like a bit like the South American pyramids. It had a flat top. It didn't come to a point at the top. Whereas once they started building pyramids properly, they realized that that there seems to be the accuracy that you need in order to make the pyramid work was beyond probably what we could do today. And that's one of the things that is so beautiful and wonderful about the pyramids is they made them in such a way that it's impossible to know for sure how they made them. And this is why the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom in Egypt, 1,000 years later, they didn't know how the pyramids were built. They tried to build pyramids, but every time they got above a certain height, because they started at the bottom, they never met up at the top properly. But if you think about it, build a pile of fucking stones. And don't forget, the stones inside the pyramids are all a bit higgledy-piggledy, They're not like perfect inside. But yeah, they built up the structure and then they carved it out from the top, came back down. And then you've got a structure to stand on because you built it. And then you just make it perfectly go down the lines that you needed to go down. And that theory to me is the most plausible that I've heard so far. So there you go. The aliens built them. Fuck off, Martin. Don't start. Oh, don't you make me come and tan your hide, young man. Aliens, my arse. 80s lateral thinking quiz show TV called Babel. Clue: most women go through this between 30 and 50. Answer: the Mersey Tunnel. That's good. I like that. Wasn't aliens, just really good maths. Magna Carta, Baron's Charter. The new Daffodil Ferry should be in operation by July 2. The old one is more that the docks is a restaurant bar, again owned by Tin Head. Is everything owned by Tin Head now? But yeah, I've been on the old Daffodil, which is not called the Royal Daffodil. I think they can't call it the Royal Daffodil. They've covered over the word royal in it. True story. But yeah, loads of really good advice on stuff to do in Liverpool. You're not going to run out of stuff to do, seriously. But yeah, get down to Quirky Quarter. I think the kids will really enjoy it. No matter what age they are, it's a lot of fun. And they'll have loads of really cool pictures to put on the internet for their mates to see. Was it a pyramid scheme? It was indeed, Sid. It was indeed. Starting at the stop, it's been my best joke for decades. Talking about religion, I was explaining to my children using the cargo religion as a good example of how people can believe in anything, then left them to make their own decisions. Says, well, I never. Yeah. But I think I understand why Angry Pagan feels needled, especially when I say Christianity. I don't think that people in the Bronze Age had these answers. I completely understand that, but at the same time, it's very hard to criticize religions without upsetting the people who really, really believe in that religion, because whatever you say, it's going to sound belittling. And I've gone out with someone who's very, very, very religious, and we had a few conversations about religion. They knew my stance on it, and I knew their stance on religion, and never the twain shall meet. But there was a lot more that we agreed on about being a nice person than we disagreed on. But I did find it very difficult to talk about religion at all, because they would always feel like I was having a go at them personally, because religion was so tied in with their identity. So there you go. Anyway, once they're out of service, they lose the royal title. It's just called the Daffodil now, which doesn't sound as good, does it? It's a bit like Bognor Regis. Doesn't sound as good when you just call it Bognor. It doesn't sound good at all. Anyway, Bognor Regis sounds like a horrible disease. Oh, I had to go to the doctors, get some ointment for me, Bognor Regis. I consider modern pagans to be a form of re-emergent evolution, so to speak. We are not, nor cannot be, what were over 1,000 years ago, but our beliefs come from the same place. Yeah, fair enough. And we got the pyramid scheme joke again. Stop doing pyramid scheme jokes. But yes, so just to close off what I was saying about Trump being a twat. So I've talked last week about how things are changing environmentally and how things are changing militarily, what it would look like if America pulls out properly from Germany, and the fact that Germany is the landlord in that situation. Today I was talking a bit more about the left coming together more than ever before in the last few in the last year or so, because our backs are against the wall. Our backs are against the wall, and this is something that I feel, and a lot of people feel like this has given us a new impetus. We might not know what we want, but we certainly know what we don't want. We don't want Trump. We don't want Trumpism. We don't want ICE knocking on people's doors, demanding to see your papers to see if you're legal or not. And if you're not legal, they'll send you off to a death camp somewhere in El Salvador. I just don't want that world. I do not want to live in that world. I don't want to live in a world where people don't want to come here to watch the footy because they're too scared that you'll look through their social media profile and find that you've written something mean about Keir Starmer, and therefore you deserve to go to fucking jail, be deported, or thrown in the fucking gulag. This is the thing. These people who support Nigel Farage because he's Trump's mate, Nigel Farage, like, oh yeah, I want what Trump has done over in America over here. I'm like, okay, well, he's not leader yet. So do you want Keir Starmer to bring in a rule that says if anyone's criticised Keir Starmer on social media, they go to fucking jail, they lose their job. They lose their fucking job. Do you want that as a rule? Because I've checked your social media and you don't seem to be too fond of Keir Starmer. Yeah, but it'd be different when Farage is in charge. Yeah, but Farage isn't going to live forever. And then there'll be another Keir Starmer in the future. And if you criticise them, some other Labour leader, they'll be able to put you in jail, lock your family up, slaughter your children in front of you. I don't know. That's the future that some people in this country and around the world want. But they're in the vanishing minority. Do not worry. Do not worry. But I think that the response to Trump is more important in so many ways than what Trump is doing. So we look at what Trump has done, from one day to the next. I think it's more interesting and more helpful to look at the response to it, i.e. greater cooperation amongst allied powers, greater cooperation amongst European powers, more integration in the way that we run our lives, and more sovereignty. That's something that has come of this, because we are not going to be dependent on America and its control of oil. Don't forget, America controls oil. I know we talk about OPEC controlling the price of oil, but all oil all around the world is traded in US dollars. A British company drills for oil in British waters and sells it back to a British refinery. That trade, selling it to that refinery, is made in US dollars, not in British pounds. There's no polite way to tell people they're dedicated their lives to an illusion. Daniel Dennett. Yeah, Ozark. And that's the thing. It is difficult without coming across as disrespectful. But then that censors you because you don't want to talk about it. So in my relationship, we didn't talk about religion too much because whenever I said something about it, even though I was trying to couch it in the most neutral of terminologies and not be aggressive and not be like, oh, your religion's a bunch of shite, mate. To be as respectful as humanly possible, but still say, I can't believe, for instance, I cannot ever envisage me believing that we got all the answers right to some of the most difficult questions that humanity has ever posed itself. I don't think we got them right in the Bronze Age. The chances of that happening are zero. Absolute zero. I mean, no, worse than that. Minus 273.15 degrees fucking Celsius. Absolute fucking zero. As far as I'm concerned. But you can't say that without sounding really patronizing and horrible to people who do believe that the answers to everything were actually discovered in the Bronze Age when humans were just discovering, I don't know, fire. I can see me going back to sleep. Well, not exactly because I can't see myself. If I sleep, I'll be unconscious. Yeah, there are still those over here. Cammy Farage, Nick Farage, Ian Dale is still lap up the Trump. Yeah. So what? Well, Ian Dale didn't go to private school, but Nick Farage, and Cammy Badenoch all went to private school. Hey, one thing to check out, another recommendation I've got is go check out InfoWars since The Onion's taken it over. It's fucking beautiful. It's so good. They take over this comedian who just does a crazed impression of the absolute gobshite that is what was his name? Alex Jones, was it? Fucking gobshite. Happy birthday, Jenny! Whee! I'm gonna launch some magic confetti. This is for Jenny. Happy birthday! Woo! Birthday confetti. Woo! We've only got one more super chat left, and then we can do that for the super chats. Yay! Okay, so Daily Fail. How I dropped 2 jet sizes after quitting fat jobs. Oh, fucking whatever. And then already nervous. Mayor A-list cast arrive at Traitors Castle. So yeah, the Traitors is getting filmed right now. Won't be on till the end of the year, but it's going to be it's got Hannah Fry in it. It's got Hannah Fry in it and Joe Lycett. I mean, it's going to be brilliant. I hope they're the traitors. I hope the traitors are Hannah Fry and Joe Lycett. I would absolutely love that. That'd be so good. Reform in new race route. There, abhorrent comment, even condemned by one of the party's own candidates. Fury at Brexit tycoon Banks. A Reform UK candidate has called a post by prominent fellow member Aaron Banks racist as the party is engulfed in yet another row. Banks, who was one of the largest Brexit donors, gave $7 million to the Brexit campaign, never told anyone where he got his money from. By the way, he was privately educated. Aaron Banks, privately educated. So there you go. He was blasted for writing Welsh lad, ? In response to the clip of a black activist campaigning for Plaid Cymru. Fucking racist cunt. Anyway, we've got the Times here. Why the A-list want to be on the new Traitors, because it's a brilliant show. Anti-racist groups should show more support for Jews, says MP. I agree with this. I absolutely agree with this. I think they should. I think they need to show solidarity with Jewish people living here who have the incidence of Jewish hatred has gone through the fucking roof. Hate crimes against Jews has gone through the roof, and I think they should be protected. And I think that Muslims should be protected. And I think that trans people should be protected. And gay people and women. And all these groups. If you're going to say you're anti-racist, you're going to say you're progressive, you've got to be progressive for everyone. You can't pick and choose. You cannot say you're not racist and then be transphobic. You cannot say that you are, against, stand up to racism and then come out with some racist shit against Jewish people. Fuck off. Stop it. And then, well, Jews aren't a race. Yes, they fucking are. All right? Just whatever people tell you, just fucking believe them. Just fucking believe them. If they want to believe that their stuff, right? As long as it's not hurting anyone. And people being discriminated against, so the Jewish kids not wanting to wear the skull caps, the keepers, because they feel, they feel they're going to be targeted. I've heard stories of them, the payers, the curly sideys that they have at their, particularly religious Jews, Orthodox Jews, particularly Orthodox. Not all Orthodox Jews have that, but certain sects, certain frummy sects of the Jewish religion, that people, either cutting them off or putting them inside the hat so they can't be seen. Without Diz, Graham would be broke, says Captain Coconut with a super chat. That is true. So thank you, Diz, for keeping me off the bread line and for keeping me in, all the crazy shit that I spend my money on. Bread. Bread and coffee. Thank you very much. And thank you to Captain Coconut and everyone else who dropped the super chat in. 3, 2, 1, says Beppy! We got the confetti! Woo, 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 woo. There you go. And yeah, I'll agree, Sarah, not all groups get equal protection. Yeah. And you'll see places that are very much, right on with have, all the stickers up saying, say no to racism and LGBT friendly and all this kind of stuff. They never, very rarely have something that is supportive of Jews. Something that make a Jewish person walk in there and think this is a safe place for me. Something to think about. Anyway, back onto the papers. There's Zendaya there looking absolutely resplendent, as she always does. She's set amongst stars set to miss the Met Gala in New York because of its association with Jeff Bezos, who's a gobshite. Britain told to pay £1 billion a year to EU after reset. So the way the Times is writing this, because the Times is owned by Murdoch, they want to make it sound like the EU is ripping us off, but we're not. We get access to the single market in the sectors that we're trying to get in. So we're trying to re-enter the single market, right? That's the plan, but only in certain sectors. Pharmaceuticals being the big one. Pharmaceuticals being fucking huge. Why do we want access to it? Because at the moment, if you test pharmaceuticals in the UK and you license them for distribution in the UK, that's fine, but you can't license them for distribution around the EU until they are tested on EU soil. So you have to take those tests, and these medical these tests for new drugs, new medicines take a fucking long time. They can take years. And when we were part of the EU, we could test them in Macclesfield. AstraZeneca could test them in Macclesfield or wherever they did the testing, and that it's done, right? And then they get the license and they could sell that all over the EU. You do that now in Macclesfield, you can sell it in the UK, possibly Ireland, nowhere else. Nowhere else in the EU. Until you do those same tests somewhere in Europe, which is ridiculous and insane. Now, we're talking about tens, maybe hundreds of billions of pounds that will come into the UK's coffers if we join the single market for pharmaceuticals, for instance. That's just one. There's other things that we can join the single market for. We don't have to join the full single market. This is what we're negotiating. We're negotiating opt-ins in certain places. If you want to know what it'll look like in the future, have a look at what Switzerland's relationship with the EU. It has hundreds of agreements over different commodities, over different trade deals and things like that with the rest of the EU. Things that it's part of, things that it's not part of. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 38 Hong Kongian dollars. That's very kind of you. People generally know that mankind designed the concept of God, but they are trapped within the confines of their cultural identity. That's very well put. Very well put. And he says, race is a construct and shouldn't exist, but it does. Yes. I could say that about a lot of things. It shouldn't exist, but it does. People classify and discriminate using it. We have to fight against it for absolute equality and equity. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I don't like it when people say, I don't see colour. You only get white people saying that. It's funny that, isn't it? I don't see colour. I have friends who are deal different colour. I don't see colour. Yeah, black people don't say that because they do, because they know that other people do. And they know that they have to take precautions when walking down the street in a way a white person would never think of doing. They know they've got to work harder to get a job in a way a white person would never think of doing. So yeah, you think you're being helpful when the white person says, I don't see colour, you're not being helpful. Don't say that. Just don't. Top tip from a fellow white person. Yeah, don't say that. Yeah, but I'm so privileged I don't have to see colour. Yeah, If you're brown or black, you do. Don't forget to give Graham's like book a lick. I like book. I said but. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. Quick, rewind the tape. Rewind the tape. Give Graham's like button a lick. It may not give the rush of endorphins I've been looking forward to get through the day. It may give the rush of endorphins we've been looking forward to get through the day. Go on, we don't know until we click it. Yes, absolutely, couldn't agree more. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Do it now. Do it now. See if you can get a good ratio for the likes to watchers. And also subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And hit the bell notification if you are subscribed, so you know when we're going live. Mel Brooks is making films again. Yes, he's making Spaceballs 2. I always called it Speedballs 2 then. It was a video game, wasn't it? Okay, so Zendaya, they're looking resplendent, as I've said. We've got military has no money for new weapons until 2030. Britain's armed forces can only think about preparing for war as a lack of funding has left no money to buy new weapons until 2030. A former military chief has warned that's because of the Tories. Because of 12 years of Tory fucking shite. Sorry, 12 years? 14 years. 14 years of Tory shite. Tory fucking shite. I want to know if I can do... Can I do this? What happens? Oh, there we go. Look at that. I should have done that years ago. I can just change the colour. I didn't realise I could change the colour. But I can. 14 years. Anyway, so we've got over on the Telegraph here, we've got some nonsense in the Telegraph as always. I've been a pariah for years. Tim Stanley's day with reforms policy guru, probably both went to private school. How to wear red without any blushes. What? We've got welfare pays more than work for 6,000 households. Analysis reveals some more that receive more than £60,000 in prompts for benefits overhaul. Some places, some families. Welfare pays more than work for 600,000 households, and they talk about someone receiving £60,000. I'm gonna call bullshit on this. I'm gonna call absolute bullshit. Who the fuck gets £60,000 in benefits except I don't know, a billionaire who you know fucks the system somehow? That is just absolute bullshit. No one who's ever been on benefits will agree to that ridiculous number that they just absolutely pulled out of their arse. Absolutely pulled out of their arse. That's fucking disgraceful. Some receive more than £60,000. By some, I bet it's like one person who's in jail for like milking the system. Cost of a pint hits £10 in London for the first time as a result of Brexit, and there's some girls who seem quite cheerful about it, weirdly. 1 minute jab to treat 14 types of cancer rolled out on NHS. A 1 minute jab is being rolled out on the NHS to treat 14 types of cancer. Fantastic stuff. Starmer to push for closer ties to the EU. Great news, everyone. Great news for the pro-Europeans out there. I swear, if Starmer did two things, right? Push for closer relations with the EU, which they're doing anyway, and stop being a twat about trans issues and made it so that kids can get puberty blockers, that the trans people can use any toilet that they want to fucking use because no one assaults anyone in the toilet because that's a stupid place to assault someone because there's people, it's a public place, it's a public toilet. Most assaults happen in a private setting, you know. This idea that a person's safe place is the bogs. The fuck? Who are they? The fucking Fonz. Fuck off. Rum ration helped war veteran to 109. Britain's oldest known surviving Second World War veteran has been laid to rest, age 109. He was shipwrecked twice. Harry Waddington, his name was. What a chap. Poppy Coburn says Polanski will do nothing for the TikTok generation who love him. This is a privately educated woman here, Poppy Coburn. You can tell she's privately educated. Her name is Poppy. And then we've got Iran says Trump has 1 month to end the war. And Anthropic in talk to buy AI chips from the UK. Then we have the Star here, Fergie Ambo drama. This is about former United boss, Sir Alex Ferguson, who was taken to hospital yesterday. He was rushed to hospital just before the match kicked off. After he fell fell in the Players' Tunnel at Old Trafford. That's really a bit of a worry. Manchester United went on to win the fucking match, which is a bit shit. I hate Man United. They've got the Daily Express there. We've got Cheers to You, because they've got to go to visit the D-Day thing next month, I guess. And then we've got the iPaper here. State pension triple lock under threat if UK goes to war with Putin. Pension guarantee will need to be scrapped in wartime scenario with Russia amid pressure to fund extra troops, equipment and civil defence. There's a lot of talk about scrapping the triple lock. I think it's going to happen at some point in the next couple of years because it has to. It really has to. Because we're now spending more on pensions than we are getting in revenue from people actually working. It is unsustainable, and the fact that the triple lock was set up at a time of very, very low inflation and very low wage growth, which we don't have anymore. So that if you're on a pension, your pension's going up a lot more. And do you know what? It's a fuck all pension. It's not like the pensioners are getting shitloads of money. But the two issues are, a lot of pensioners don't need the pension, the state pension. They don't need it. It's a bit of an extra add-on to the, so they can afford a slightly better class of stateroom in their cruise that they go on. Spend half the year on a cruise and then come back and buy another car, even though they haven't worked for 30 years, which doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the way the system works in this country. And so I think it should be means tested. And also I think we have to do away with the triple lock. I really do. And the people who need the money should be getting more money. That's it. The lower end, the people who are absolutely dependent on the state pension should get more money. And the people who aren't dependent on it, because they've got a massive private pension, they're still on a final salary pension, as they have been for the last 30 years. Sorry, tough. You've lived the life of Riley. There's another 3 generations below you that are struggling to breathe free. We've got holidaymakers choose UK staycations amid concerns over flight disruption. We have got Attenborough, 5 stars, looks at life on Earth, 5-star review there. Take the plunge, 49 shortcuts to pure joy. Alarm over toothless oversight of AI facial recognition systems. Watchdog calls for new laws amid fears over accuracy of software, because software can be racist. Labour has no magic bullet fix, says Powell. Labour's deputy leader, Lucy Powell, here saying there's no magic bullet to solve Labour's problems. No, very true. And then we've got Here to Entertain, Boyle's Pop Culture Spectacular, one of the cast of hundreds in You Are Here, director Danny Boyle's collaborative celebration of music, dance and theatre fashion to mark 75 years since the opening of London's South Bank Centre, which I hate, but I mean, that sounds quite cool. We'll go to the Independent. We'll come back to the Financial Times in a moment. Elon Musk put his God complex on trial, and he's managed to prove it's bigger than ever because he's twat. 2 dead in suspicious explosion in Bristol. There's a story here about being sent back to prison for petty theft more than 20 years later. A mother and her son had her son torn from her arms. She was recalled to jail for a crime she says she didn't commit. And this is another victim of inhumane indefinite jail terms. I'm guessing this is someone who was out on license from jail, and they were told that they that if they commit any more crimes, they go back to jail, which is normal for being out on license. But she's been out on license for 20 years, which is not normal. It's not normal. What is a magic bullet? It's a bullet that solves all the problems. Like in an American movie where they have a bullet in a gun and it takes away all the bad guys, or it shoots a helicopter and the helicopter explodes, which wouldn't happen in real life, but it's a magic bullet. It's also the bullet that killed JFK. That was a magic bullet. If you believe what's told in JFK, apparently the bullet went in. It changed its trajectory, but it wasn't true actually, because the seats at the back were at a higher angle. They were not a higher angle. They were elevated above the seats at the front. There were 2 seats at the front. There was a seat at the back, but the seats at the back were up higher so that people could see JFK and his wife waving. My magic bullet is a vibrator, says Jenny. Yep, you're not the only one. I like that. Financial Times here, right? So we have blowback. U.S. wind farm plans blocked. The U.S. Defense Department is holding up approval for dozens of wind farms, citing national security concerns and a major escalation of Trump's battle against renewable energy. Around 150, I think it's 165 onshore projects on private land are being stalled, including some that would typically require oversight from the department, according to the American Clean Power Association and people familiar with the matter. Wind farms require routine approval from the Pentagon to ensure they do not interfere with radar systems. Normally, this can take as little as a few days to complete. Trump has called wind farms the worst form of energy and said his goal is to not let any windmill be built, because he's paid for by the oil companies, who obviously, they have their own agenda. We've also got how Watchtel redefined Wall Street lawyer, and then we've got should chief executives share the burden? I don't know. And then we've got the briefing here. Berkshire Hathaway boss asks investor for patience. Regret hits rich exiles. Some wealthy residents who left the UK for low tax regrets it. I think that's for non-dom regime change have started experiencing regrets it, according to leavers and their advisors. So it's not actually regretting voting for Brexit. It's actually regretting leaving the country. U-turn on nature pledge. Ministers have retreated from a Boris Johnson era pledge to dedicate billions of pounds to protect and restore natural nature abroad as climate aid funding is slashed for developing nations. That's a really shit news story. Thanks a lot, Labour, you stupid twat. Detroit commodities alert. Big US car companies have warned that the hit from higher prices will rise to $5 billion this year as the Mideast war strains supply chains. We've got Wall Street gains beat Europe. The continent's biggest lenders have captured barely a third of the trading gains of US rivals amid wild market swings in the first quarter. Yeah, but we don't get a phone call from the fucking president to tell us what's going to happen. Buyout vehicles attacked. One of an influential investor body has said one of the sector's favourite methods of exiting investments in a deal-making downturn. It's so problematic, they should be called conflict vehicles. IFS prepares for listing software group IFS has sought to distance itself from AI. And then we've got Lex and Business Life. I'm sorry about the quality of this screen at the moment. It's really, really low res. It's really hard to read. Starmer allies say Premier staying put despite predictions of Labour wipeout. Satir Starmer won't accept any deals to leave Downing Street, as allies have warned, as the Prime Minister braced himself for Labour wipeout in elections on Thursday, which is, it's going to happen. Councils deploy AI tools to speed up town planning. Planning decisions in England will for the first time be made with the help of Google-built AI starting this month. It may help speed the process, but town planners have warned ministers that human experience and values should not be excluded. Under the scheme, AI will give a recommendation while humans make the final decision. In more complex applications, the AI might offer a framework for decisions rather than a definitive answer. A bit of a worry, but as long as there's human oversight, as long as there's a bit of humanity in it, or I don't have a major problem with that. But let's just see how it goes. If it's very, very problematic, I will be having words. Trump is like Caligula shouting at the sea when it comes to trying to halt the unstoppable tide of green energy. Well, yeah. Let them create their dystopia while we continue to search for a utopia. Yeah. If you want to find out who's on who the right people are, look at who the Fash hates. Look at who Trump hates. Look at who Farage hates. Look at what they hate. Anything they hate is probably a good thing. Anything they hate is probably a good thing. That's how you know. Look around. Who's on the same side as you? Have you got Have you got David Attenborough on the same side as you? You're probably on the side of goodness and light, then, aren't you? Who have you got on the same side as you? Katie Hopkins, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, J.K. Rowling. You're a twat. I'm sorry. Look around. Look who's on your side. It's a twat brigade, and they won't let you in the twat brigade unless you're a twat yourself. So just look around sometimes and see who's on the same side as you, and if they're all right, that's a good thing. I mean, there'll be some wrong uns in every group in every sector of society, but the vast majority of the people who are saying, yeah, that is the way forward. Chris Packham and Dale Vince, all good. They'll sound like the way this chat are going. Some people have found their utopia. Yeah, Liverpool. Yay. Take that, Sheffield, Steve. So listen, I'm going to get going now. Thank you so much for the super chats and the confetti. That has put a spring in my step this morning here in Durham. I think we've got not great weather predicted this week, but last week was glorious, wasn't it? It was lovely. I'll be back later today. I'm going to be doing something at 9 o'clock. I don't know if Scott is going to be joining us. He's not so great at the moment. So if he wants to join us and have a chat about it, then he's very welcome to do so. If not, I'll find something else to do. I might do a show tonight with Jack Dart, who is head of Reform Watch. He might do an episode of Reform Watch UK with me, and he's going to go through. He's got the receipts. He's got the receipts on all the bullshit that the fuckers have done. It's worth a watch if he's going to come on, because you can make some notes, and when if you've got local elections where you are, or national elections in Wales or Scotland, and you speak to fuckers, you can point them out. And here's the receipt that people want, right? Here's sorry, not the ones. Here's the one that they need. Here's the receipt they need, okay? 9%. Worcestershire County Council was taken over by refuck this time last year. And as a result of that, they have now faced the biggest hike in council tax in 1 year. 9% hike in council tax, way and above the rate of inflation. 9% hike in council tax. Do you want a 9% hike in council tax? Well, don't vote refuck. That is the big argument. Don't call them racists. That empowers them. It just gives them more energy into their armor to fight back. They love being called racist because they are racists, and they love it. They fucking love it, right? Don't call them fascists. They fucking love that too. Doesn't work. We can call them fascists amongst ourselves, but to their face, don't call them racist. Don't call them a fascist, because they fucking love that. That's not a problem. Don't say that Nigel Farage is a fascist. You can say that Nigel Farage is a spiv who's only in it for his own fucking for his own ends, and we've got loads of evidence of that. But the main point you need to get across to anyone who's thinking of voting for refuck is that in every council that they have taken over in the UK since last year, they have fucked that council, and now the people who live in that council area, like myself here in Durham, are now paying a load more for our council tax. The most regressive tax there is. We are paying more because refuck are incompetent. They can't run a piss up in a brewery. And we can talk about our differences with the Tories, with the Lib Dems, with Labour, with the Greens, but at least when they've been in charge of councils, there has been some degree of competence. And they haven't just dissolved into infighting like we've seen with the refuck fuckers. And yes, again, not every council is fucking perfect, and we have problems in Liverpool with Derek Atton, and then more recently with Joe Anderson. But the fact remains that in 1 year, every single council that was taken over by refuck has been refucked by that council. And that's the question you need to ask this week. So hopefully Jack will be able to join me tonight. He's making his way back from fucking Devon or somewhere to London. So it just depends on what time he gets back. But if not, I might just end up playing Monkey Island or something. We still need to get off Melly Island, don't we? So yeah, come play with me later today. Okay, lots of love and light to everybody. I hope you all have a really fantastic day. If you haven't already liked giving us a like, please give us a like. And then also, please consider joining the channel. You get a nice little rose after your name, like Martin Harrow and Indy Duck Mel. And Sid there. Get yourself a nice little rose after your name. And if you feel like being generous and kind and loving, and you'll get your name at the end of the show when I update the the credits. I haven't updated the credits since February. I really need to get onto that. But it's a bank holiday today, so if you're off work, enjoy your bank holiday. Go spend some time with your friends or your loved ones, or just go to the park and just have a nice time and touch some grass. And the big message that I want to get over, and I've been trying to get over, to certain successes, I hope, over the last week or so, is that the backlash against Trump is immense. It is absolutely immense, and it is happening. It's really happening everywhere in the world. And the backlash is more cooperation amongst other countries that aren't America. And we are witnessing it is the end of the American century, but also the end of American domination of our cultures, of our economies, of our societies. We're moving that way. We are moving that way. And I say, great, fucking great. Let's let someone else have a fucking opportunity to let's dance to their tunes. Let's eat their food. Let's invite them to this country and have a good time. Because for far too long, we've been absolutely dominated in our music and our movies and our TV shows by America. And I'm not saying I want some other country to come along and dominate us. I don't want every soap opera on TV to be Chinese. But I would like there to be a bit more not homegrown stuff as well, but also a bit more stuff. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear the legends. I want to eat the food. I want to listen to the music and dance the dances of other places. Great. Okay, let's move on. We've done the American thing. We've done it to death. And Trump is, the dim reaper in this case, because he's the guy at the side just going, go away, everyone. We don't need any of you. I'm going to sit on the couch and eat chocolate and cry to myself. All right, cool. Good job, America. See you later, you daft twats. Right. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock and either stateside, or we might do fucking mental, or we might do a show with Jack doing a Reform Watch UK, or I might play Super Mario Kart or Monkey Island. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but I'll definitely be back at 9. And if you're not around tonight, I'll be definitely back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early, for another morning brew. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. And thanks for the super chats. Really, really appreciate that. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for everyone who joined into the chat as well. Thanks for everyone for being so civil and for being understanding of other people's, feelings, I guess, which is lovely. It's a nice little community we've got here. It gives me the warm and fuzzies. So thanks very much to you, and I hope you have a great day. And until I see you again, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.